district court now?
Yeah, since it is in fourth section, under section, the case was registered under section 436.
Okay.
The district court, session court is only having powers to try this type of bail applications.
Okay. Lastly, now, what are the grounds that the police are claiming custody of your client? And secondly, now, why do you feel that he should be given a bail legally?
Definitely, from last 31 years, he is staying in that address only. He is having permanent address in that address only.
Okay.
He is having old aged parents and sons also, minor sons also him, and wife is there. From last 31 years, he is staying that address only. The police has never tried. Even the police have not intimated to him since the case is against you.
Okay.
Now only they have planned it, and the police have picked him.
Is this because of the Ram Janmabhoomi, sir? Is this because of the Ram Janmabhoomi
Yes,
Pratisthapana?
the case was registered against him in the year 1992, December 5th.
Okay.
December 5th only.
Okay. Right. Thank you for speaking to Republic, Mr. Badaskar. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Let's also get you the latest details coming in from Karnataka police. When Republic TV reached out to the Commissioner of Police, in fact, Renuka Shukumar, who happens to be Hubballi Dharwad's Commissioner of Police, this is what the Commissioner of Police had to say. She calls it a regular procedure, and I'm just taking through the details of what Renuka Shukumar, who happens to be the Commissioner of Police, had to say. These are long pending cases in the court. It's a common procedure to form special teams to nab the accused who are absconding. We have nabbed those who were absconding for 30 to 40 years, and in the last 2 months we have nabbed 37 criminals in connection with various cases related to the rioting in 1992. We have nabbed one of the accused. This is a regular police procedure. What we do, this is also just another case. This is the quote coming in from the Commissioner of Police, Hubballi Dharwad, getting us the latest details from our Kannada newsroom. Joining us on this broadcast is Chiru, and my colleague Prajwal Prasad is also joining us from Bengaluru, getting us the latest details. Prajwal, over to you first. You've spoken to the lawyer. Just put this into perspective. They say, the Karnataka police says it's a regular case. We have been investigating this case for the last couple of months. In fact, the Commissioner of Police says in the last 2 months, 37 cases, 37 arrests have been made. What's the truth?
Shravan, first and foremost, now the domain for the discharge of duty is something that needs to be questioned. At the same point of time, the timing as well, because this person by the name of Shrikant Pujari is still a resident of Hubballi. He stays in the same address. He's 73 to 75 years old. He has the Aadhaar card, PAN card, and all the details that has been issued, all the government credentials which has been given by the government as well. So for the past 31 years, after the open warrant was given in 1995, according to his legal counsel, so exactly after 28 years, why has now this particular case been taken in, and why was he taken into custody? Also considering the fact that there was a charge sheet filed in 1993 in itself, and that he had not gone absconding, he could have been taken in. And also going ahead and checking his past antecedents, it has been known now that he's not even changed his place at all. He's remained at his ancestral house. He's an auto driver. He has 2 minor children. He's survived by his wife as well as his parents too. So why was no action taken prior, and why did the Congress government go ahead and act on it? This is not something that we are asking. This is something which the pro-Hindu activists as well as the BJP in the state of Karnataka are now going ahead and questioning. The timing is something which is questionable. Now, secondly, going ahead and looking at the bail issue now, looking at the fact that all the documents have been obtained by his counsel now, we get to understand that he is moving in for bail at 10:30 tomorrow, and he seems to be quite certain of the fact that the bail will be at least given on moral grounds, on compassionate grounds as well, because this man does not have any sort of criminal antecedents in such a way which has caused damage to any property in sort of kind or to any other person as well. So this is something which we need to go by. And at the same point of time, looking at the entire case history, there has been BJP government, there has been coalition governments, and also a Congress government, but they did not raise this particular issue. In fact, the Congress has ruled the state since this particular issue has happened for 19 years. For 19 years, I repeat. But yet there has been no action taken. And and why during the Ram Janmabhoomi's Pratishthapan is this particular case picking up such a thing is something that needs to be asked, and also the way that the Chief Minister as well as his cabinet ministers are issuing statements is definitely doing them more damage than good at this point of time. Shravan, back to you in the studio.
Let me also get a quick response from my colleague Chiru, who is joining us from the Kannada newsroom. Chiru, undoubtedly this has led to some sort of political ramifications. Also, what is it that the state government has to say regarding this? The BJP has taken on the Congress party. The government, what is it that they have to say?
Shravan, there are so many questions which are which are being raised by BJP today. It is because of one reason, and that is the time. After 31 years of FIR has been registered against this man, and now police have woken up in the mid of Ram Janmabhoomi issue. And now we have to understand 2-3 things here. And the first question is the time itself. Out of nowhere, this man gets this kind of notice from court that he has to appear before court regarding the case which has been registered against him 30 years ago. And after that, can police or whoever it is, can they try and can they call these persons out of nowhere after 31 years is the question. According to Arnesh Kumar judgment and Arnesh Kumar guidelines which has been laid down by Honorable Supreme Court of India, any case which is punishable under the years of 7 years, then even the magistrate and many other police officials have to give reasons as to why they are arresting these people. And now, without giving reason and without giving any hint as to the case has been registered against him, and now police are calling suddenly out of nowhere to come to court and to answer this court. And yes, and also the final point here is, when Ram Mandir issue is going on, do you think that all these incidents which are happening is a coincidence, or which has been crafted very neatly to give a message to the center, is the question raised by BJP. Back to the studio.
Well, thank you very much, Chiru, for getting us the latest details, and also Prajwal, a story that we'll be tracking very closely. The government, on the other hand, makes it abundantly clear. You've already heard a Karnataka minister essentially saying that why should we really worship Ram in Ayodhya when we have Ram in Karnataka, essentially referring to the chief minister. Should we focus now to the other exclusive that we are getting to you tonight? This is the rift within the Indie Alliance. What is it that the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party have to say? It was quite clear that they were really uncomfortable as far as alliance in the state of Punjab is concerned. We've spoken to the Congress party in Punjab. Now they say that there is no question of any sort of alliance that is going to take place with the Aam Aadmi Party. Let's listen in to what AICC Secretary of the Congress Party had to say with regards to whether at all there is going to be some sort of an alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party. This comes just a day after Chief Minister of Punjab had taken a dig at the Congress Party. Listen.
ये बात जो भगवंत मान जी ने बोली है, ये हास्योहीनी है। कांग्रेस ऐसी जमात है, पार्टी है, जिन्होंने देश के लिए कुर्बानी दी। 138 साल पुरानी कांग्रेस पार्टी है। कांग्रेस अंग्रेज़ ख़त्म नहीं कर सके, बहुत सारी हवाएं हैं वो कांग्रेस को ख़त्म नहीं कर सकी। कांग्रेस सर्वाइवल बन जाएगी। आज ठीक है, कांग्रेस का पंजाब में राज नहीं है, इससे 2 साल पहले कांग्रेस ने ही राज किया और पूरे देश में कांग्रेस ने राज किया, पूरे राज्यों में कांग्रेस ने राज किया। ऐसी बात करना एक सीएम को अच्छी नहीं लगती, जबकि इनके केजरीवाल चाहते हैं अलाइंस हो जाए और गिड़गिड़ाते हैं। ये भी राहुल जी को मैंने सोशल मीडिया पर देखा, भगवंत मान भी मगर हाथ मिलाने को फिर रहे थे। ऐसी बात नहीं करनी चाहिए, क्योंकि कांग्रेस एक समंदर है। कांग्रेस के अनेका अंग हैं, अनेका गुलदस्ते हैं जहां कांग्रेस खिल रही है। आज पंजाब में नहीं तो तेलंगाना में है, तेलंगाना में भी है, कर्नाटका में भी है। कांग्रेस कहीं ना कहीं राज्य में राज कर रही है। ऐसी बात करना भगवंत मान के लिए अच्छी बात नहीं, क्योंकि ये तो झाड़ू है, जो झाड़ू कभी खिलर जाएगा तो देखेंगे क्या होगा। अब पंजाब में इंडिपेंडेंट आप ही अकेले चुनाव लड़के देख लें, इनको पता चल जाएगा कांग्रेस थी या झाड़ू था।
Ladies and gentlemen, when the entire country is essentially celebrating the grand inauguration of Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, there has been politics that has been constantly being played over it as to who exactly is supposed to be invited and who shouldn't be. But this time, the Congress party has stooped to a new low. Parliamentarian K Muraleedharan has now attacked the Prime Minister, saying he should not inaugurate the temple. And do you essentially want to know the reason why? This is what the Congress parliamentarian had to say. He's caught on camera when we asked him this question, whether at all the Congress party would be attending the Ram Mandir inauguration. Let's listen in to what K Muraleedharan, who happens to be a Congress parliamentarian, this is what he had to say.
For example, Akhilesh Yadav already told that he is attending. Kejriwal is also told that he is also attending. So, Congress is discussing every of our ruling, our coalition partners, and party will take a decision. But we can't say within 10 days party should take decision. No, we can't say that.
Why not? Why not? Because
Party see, the inauguration is 22nd of January. There is plenty of time.
But the India Alliance partners itself are ready to go. So what is if they have made the decision? Why can't the Congress party, who's running the India Alliance, do it?
Kerala Pradesh Congress Committee's feeling is, if a temple inauguration, definitely we can participate. Here, a mosque was demolished and constructed a temple.
But it has been clarified. The Supreme Court came in. It's a civil case. It has been rectified.
Supreme Court, you know what about the Shabarimala verdict?
It is in a 9 bench. It went to 9 bench, right? And then
Why again it gone to 9-member?
so you're saying this has to be again reviewed?
No, at present, we want to think about that. Whether we want to attend or not. Our feeling is we should not attend.
My question was, which has already been asked in the public sphere, is that if the grand mosque in Ayodhya is going to come, will Congress party again take so much time to decide on this?
Inauguration of the temple, that day, our feeling is we should not go. Why? A temple should be inaugurated either the Tandri of that temple or trustee members of that temple. There is not a duty of the Prime Minister to inaugurate a temple. See, K Karunan, when he was the Chief Minister of Kerala, he never inaugurated any temple because that's a duty of the Tandri or the trustee members.
So if Sonia Gandhi has been called personally to be part of the program, if you had to take decision, what would you tell her, not to go or to go?
I will not go. I will not go because that temple was misusing for political agenda.
You're saying it has been misused for political agenda? There is
Definitely, definitely. Because why it is inaugurating January?
Why?
March will be the election date. And election date will be announced by March. So he is he is not a believer of Sri Ram. Because
who's not a believer of Sri Ram?
Narendra Modi is not a believer of Sri Ram because Sri Raman made yaga. That time, Sita's statue was nearest of his right side. Now Modi, he divorced or not, he don't know. His wife is still here. So how can he inaugurate Rama temple in Ayodhya?
That could be a very controversial statement that you are making, that you're saying that the Prime Minister's spouse also has to be there. It is very, it's a direct attack on the Prime Minister.
Yeah, because Sri Raman, he made a yaga with the statue of his spouse, his own spouse. Where is Narendra Modi's spouse? He should answer that.
Okay. All right. So that is a very controversial comment that has been made by a veteran Congress leader and MP from Kerala, stating that Narendra Modi, Prime Minister, should not attend the inauguration as he is not following the virtues of Ram as he has stated just now. Very controversial indeed. Well, let's see what are the responses that come for this statement that has been made by a Congress MP.
Several Bobs by the Congress parliamentarian in the past. Not to forget the chai wala bab that was made by a Congress parliamentarian. Now, yet another parliamentarian from Kerala, from the Congress party, taking a dig at the Prime Minister. A bizarre logic being attempted by the Congress parliamentarian who says that the Prime Minister should not even be part of it simply because he does not have a spouse. Then he gives the analogy that in the past, Kerala chief ministers who haven't really inaugurated a temple, it's a priest who should be inaugurating it. Several logics are being given, but let's not forget that the Congress party in the state of Kerala appears to be under tremendous pressure. Let's not forget the demand that has been made by their own ally, the IUML. Let me bring in my colleague Ashwin, who's got us that big confrontation from the state of Kerala. It is quite clear, Ashwin, that there is a clear unease within the Congress party, the state of Kerala. They simply want to appease their ally IUML. IUML has already dared the Congress party, saying that you need to make your position very clear on this matter.
Absolutely, Shravan. In fact, Congress party, the MP was himself telling that all the other parties in the India Alliance are already going, but Congress party needs more time because we are running the India Alliance. So then when the question was popped, if you're running the India Alliance, you have all the power to take decisions. That's when he remained silent. Then he personally went on to attack Prime Minister Modi by taking a very controversial analogy by stating that Sri Ram, when he was doing a yaga, his spouse was there next to him, and then he went on to question the absence of spouse of Prime Minister Modi. Now this is the level of comeback which the Congress has done, but till now they're not accepting that that they are taking a stance to appease another set of community, a minority community in the state. So we have seen there has been a tremendous problems within the Congress party. In fact, VM Sudhiran, another veteran of the Congress, has in fact been asking the Congress party to make a stance clear that they are not going for it. But even now they are dilly-dallying, and right now what we see is that instead of giving a stance, there's a direct attack on the Prime Minister, where a Congress MP from Vadakara, K Muraleedharan, has stated in an exclusive conversation that Prime Minister Modi's spouse is missing and he should not be doing the inauguration of the Ram temple. So certainly very controversial. What needs to be seen is how will the Congress party within this fold will respond to the same kind of analogy that has been brought in by their colleague. Shravan.
Well, thank you very much, Ashwin, for getting us the latest details. That's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. On the other side, news and updates continue with my colleague Suvesh.
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
हमारे देश को आजाद हुए 76 साल हो गए, लेकिन कई चीजों में हमको अभी आजादी नहीं मिली, जैसे कि सरकारी दफ्तरों में दुश्वारियां, परेशानियां, बदइंतजामियां। हमारे शहीदों को इस बात की कतई चिंता नहीं थी कि देश को आजादी मिलेगी या ना, लेकिन उनको एक बात की चिंता थी कि आजादी के बाद देश कौन से हाथों में जाएगा, देश के हालात क्या होंगे। हमने आजादी की जंग इसलिए लड़ी थी ताकि हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ियों की जिंदगी आसान हो सके, ना कि इसलिए कि वो जगह जगह पर सरकारी दफ्तरों में धक्के खाएं, परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़े। अगर जंग सबने इकट्ठे होकर लड़ी थी आजादी की, तो फिर सुख सहूलतें भी सबको इकट्ठी मिलनी चाहिए। हम तो शहीदों के पांव की मिट्टी के एक धूल के तिनके के बराबर भी नहीं है, लेकिन ये बसंती रंग की पग शहीदों के सपनों और इरादों की हमें याद दिलाती रहती है कि हमारे देश में आम लोगों के सिर्फ दिन रात नहीं, हालात बदलने चाहिए। चुनाव के समय हम लोगों के पास जा सकते हैं, तो चुनाव के बाद सरकार बनती है, तो सरकार बनने के बाद भी सरकारों को जनता के पास जाना चाहिए, ना कि जनता सरकारी दफ्तरों में खज्जल खुआर हो। यही आजादी के असली मायने हैं। शहीद आजम सरदार भगत सिंह जी के सपनों को साकार करने के लिए पंजाब सरकार ने फैसला किया है कि पंजाब के लोगों को अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर नहीं लगाने पड़ेंगे, बल्कि सरकारी दफ्तर खुद चल के लोगों के घर पर आएंगे।
अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर काटने की जरूरत नहीं, बस डायल करें 1076 और सरकारी सुविधाएं अपने घर पर ही पाएं। पंजाब की भगवंत मान सरकार आपके द्वार।
3 से 4 व्हीलर में अपग्रेड तो करना है, पर इसमें से क्या खास बात है?
इसमें एक खासियत हो तो बताएं। टाटा इस गोल्ड पेट्रोल CX में है दमदार इंजन जो दे बढ़िया पिकअप, बड़ी और स्ट्रॉन्ग लोड बॉडी और मेंटेनेंस एकदम कम। तो अब सोचो, समझो और टाटा इस गोल्ड पेट्रोल CX लो।
आपने सोमानी का नया रोल देखा? वही स्टाइल और रेंज सोमानी बाथवेयर में भी। सोमानी बाथवेयर।
मोदी सरकार की गारंटी, कोई नहीं रहेगा भूखा। हर महीने 80 करोड़ लोगों को मिल रहा है मुफ्त राशन। हमारा संकल्प विकसित भारत।
Siddaramaiah government opens 31-year-old case against Karsewaks. BJP calls it appeasement politics. Congress comes to defense of protesting truckers, says hit-and-run laws passed without discussion. Amid speculation of Jharkhand Chief Minister's resignation, BJP claims Soren's wife to take over. Major tussle within the India alliance over prime ministerial face. Congress plays peacemaker with miffed Nitish. Jaishankar shows Canada the mirror, says Khalistani elements given free run under Trudeau government. 5 dead after fire at Tokyo airport after collision between Japan Airlines plane and Japan Coast Guard plane. Good evening and thank you for tuning in. You're watching Live and Breaking. I'm Suesha Samant, and well as the date for the Ram Mandir inauguration in Ayodhya approaches, the Karnataka Police Department seems to have opened cases for investigation against Ram Mandir activists who allegedly engaged in property destruction and other offences during the peak of the movement for Ram Mandir 30 years ago. Further, regarding a claimed incident of torching a minority-owned store in Hubballi on December 5, 1992, Shrikant Pujari has been taken into custody by the Hubballi police. Pujari is the third defendant in the case and 8 more defendants are being sought after by the police. Pujari was put under court supervision. In a similar vein, Hubballi police have also created a list of 300 suspects they claim are connected to communal conflicts that occurred between 1992 and 1996. Let's listen in to what Siddaramaiah has said.
ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದವ್ರನ್ನ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕ್ರಿ? ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕಾ? ಹಳೆಯ ಕೇಸ್ಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಡಿಸ್ಪೋಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಹೇಳದ ಕೇಳರೇ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ನೀವು ಹೇಳೋದು ಕೇಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ? ನಾನು ಹಳೆಯ ಕೇಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಪೋಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ನವರು ಕ್ರಮ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ನಾವು ಯಾವ ದ್ವೇಷದ ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ನಿರಾಪರಾಧಿಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಬಂಧಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
Meanwhile, the BJP has denounced the Congress government's current action with outrage. They have said that the Congress government is unable to stand in the door-to-door campaign by the BJP and Hindu organizations against the backdrop of the opening of Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, and they are using this tactic to start investigating instances that were reported 30 years ago. In fact, Hindu organizations that are also taking on the Congress against this action, where Congress is now in Karnataka opened cases against Karsewaks. Let's listen into how the BJP is reacting.
ಈಗ 30 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಳೆ ಕೇಸನ್ನು 35 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಳೆ ಕೇಸನ್ನು ಇವತ್ತು ತೆಗೆದು ಜನರನ್ನು ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಅತ್ಯಂತ ನೀಚ ಕೃತ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಕೈ ಹಾಕಿದೆ. ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಪೂಜಾರಿ ಅಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರು ಕುಲಕರ್ಣಿ ಅನ್ನೋರನ್ನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಬಂದಿದ್ರು ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ಗೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ 72 ವರ್ಷ, 72 ಇಯರ್ಸ್. ನಾನು ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ರು ಮತ್ತು ಗೃಹ ಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳ ಆದೇಶವನ್ನು, ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಆದೇಶವನ್ನು ಇವರು ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಂತೂ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ದ್ವೇಷ ಭಾವನೆಯಿಂದ ವರ್ತಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ರಾಮ ಮಂದಿರ ಆದದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಸಂಕಟ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ಕಿಚ್ಚು, ನಾ ಹೇಳಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ಕಿಚ್ಚಿನಿಂದ ವರ್ತಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ಕಿಚ್ಚಿನಿಂದ ವರ್ತಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಸರಿಯಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ನು ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿದಂಥ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ,
ಹುಬ್ಬಳ್ಳಿ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂಗೆ ಕಾನೂನು ಹೋರಾಟ ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ ಬಿಜೆಪಿ?
ಕಾನೂನು ಹೋರಾಟ ಅಂತೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ರಾಜಕೀಯವಾಗಿಯೂ ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕವಾಗಿಯೂ ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾರು ಏನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು PFI ಮತ್ತು ಈ DJ ಹಳ್ಳಿ KJ ಹಳ್ಳಿ ಹಳೆ ಹುಬ್ಬಳ್ಳಿ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಭಾಳ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಿತವಾಗಿ ಸಂಚು ನಡೆಸಿ ಹಲ್ಲೆ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಆಫೀಸರ್ನು ಸತ್ತೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಶೀಟ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು, ಕೊಂದು ಹಾಕ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು ಅಂತ. ಅಂಥವ್ರನ್ನ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆಗೆ ನೀವು ಪತ್ರ ಬರೀತೀರಿ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಯವರು? ಈಗ 35 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಕೇಸು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬನಿಗೆ 75 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ. ಒಬ್ಬನಿಗೆ 60-62 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರಂತೂ ಆ ಹೋರಾಟದಲ್ಲೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಂಧಿಸ್ತೀರಿ ನೀವು? ಸಿದ್ದರಾಮಯ್ಯನವರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀರಿ ನೀವು ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ? ನೀವೇನು ಮೊಘಲ್ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ನಡೆಸ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಥವಾ ಇಸ್ಲಾಮಿಕ್ ISIS ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಇದಲ್ಲ ಆ ರೀತಿಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ನಡೆಸ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ನೀವು? ಅಥವಾ ಏನು ISIS ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ISISದವ್ರು ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರ ನೀವು? ಇದು ರಾಹುಲ್ ಗಾಂಧಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೀತ್ಯಾದರಕ್ಕೆ, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಪ್ರೀತ್ಯಾದರಕ್ಕೆ ಇದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ? ಇದನ್ನು ಅತ್ಯಂತ ತೀವ್ರವಾಗಿ
in Hubballi, the ruling Congress party has dared to reopen the old case. 31-year-old case has been reopened, and our Hindu Karyakarta Shrikant Pujari has been arrested pertaining to protest during Ram Mandir episode. Bharatiya Janata Party strongly condemns the act of the state government, the act of the police. We demand the Congress party, Congress government should immediately release Shrikant Pujari. Tomorrow Bharatiya Janata Party has arranged a massive protest across the state of Karnataka. It's very unfortunate when the entire country is celebrating the Pratishtapana of Ram on January 22nd. The attitude of the ruling Congress party here in Karnataka, it clearly shows the present Congress government in Karnataka is anti-Hindu and repeatedly trying to hurt the sentiments of the Hindus in the Karnataka. So it will expose this Congress government before the people of Karnataka and also before the people of this country. Tomorrow Bharatiya Janata Party is holding a massive protest across the barbaric attitude of the state government.
सिद्धारमैया जी विनाश काले विपरीत बुद्धि, आप हिंदुओं को तबाह करना चाहते हैं, राम भक्तों को। अगर आपने ये गलती की तो आने वाले लोकसभा के चुनाव में हिंदुओं भी एकजुट होकर के 0/0 कर देगा। फिर उसके बाद देखना, राम भक्तों से टकराओ मत।
Union Minister Prahlad Joshi posted on X stating that the selection of the idol for the Pran Pratishtapana of Lord Ram in Ayodhya has been finalized. The idol of Lord Ram that will be installed in Ayodhya has been carved by a renowned sculptor of India, Yogi Raj Arun. In yet another incident of mob violence, Navage Taluk in the Belagavi district of Karnataka witnessed an attack over an alleged love case. Over 20 individuals reportedly assaulted a house, damaging car windows, house window panes and 2 motorcycles. The conflict arose from a dispute between youths from Badarwadi and Navage villages related to an alleged love case. The incident has been officially registered as a case at the Belagavi Rural Police Station. Early this morning, officials from ED conducted raids in Shivamogga. The focus of the raids was the national group of institutions located in Tirupalli, Shivamogga district. ED officials targeted specific areas including the National Institute's Gold Palace, Super Bazaar and Indian Gas Godown during the operation. Medical Education Minister Dr. Sharan Prakash Patil called a meeting at Vikas Soda to discuss Karnataka's COVID-19 status and preventive measures. In the last 24 hours, the state reported 296 new cases and 1 death, with a total of 199 cases, including one of the JN1 variant. The meeting with officials is set for 11 a.m. An Arjuna awardee, Punjab Deputy Superintendent of Police Dalbir Singh Deol, 54, was found dead under mysterious circumstances in Jalandhar on Monday. His body with multiple injuries was found abandoned near a canal at Basti Bawa Khel on the outskirts of Jalandhar town. Deol was an Asian Games gold medalist. Time now for a short commercial break. On the other side, Congress comes to defense of protesting truckers, says hit and run laws passed without discussion. Major tussle within the Indy alliance over prime ministerial face. Congress plays peacemaker with Nitish.
भाई इतनी बड़ी टाइल,
इतनी बड़ी बड़ी हिट्स आप लोगों ने मुझे दी हैं। टाइल्स बड़े होने चाहिए। सुमानी मैक्स टाइल्स, टाइलों का सबसे बड़ा भाई। सुमानी मैक्स टाइल्स, जमीन से जुड़े।
मोदी सरकार की गारंटी, सबका अपने पक्के घर का सपना होगा पूरा। 4 करोड़ पक्के घरों का निर्माण, हमारा संकल्प विकसित भारत।
जामनगर की भट्ट फैमिली को तारे देखना पसंद है। जम्मू की भट्ट फैमिली को सितारे देखना पसंद है। फैमिलीज जितनी भी सेम लगे, होती अलग है। इसलिए नया वीमैक्स पोस्टपेड, जो दे हर फैमिली को उनकी पसंद की चॉइसेस, जैसे ईज माई ट्रिप, Amazon Prime and more. वीमैक्स पोस्टपेड, choose what you want to use.
Whenever I had ice cream or cold water, I would experience a sharp shooting sensation. So I just kept ignoring it. Even my hot chai was giving me the same amount of discomfort. My dentist recommended Sensodyne. So now I can be completely carefree and sip my hot cup of tea. It really works.
हमारे देश को आजाद हुए 76 साल हो गए, लेकिन कई चीजों में हमको अभी आजादी नहीं मिली। जैसे कि सरकारी दफ्तरों में दुश्वारियां, परेशानियां, बदइंतजामियां। हमारे शहीदों को इस बात की कतई चिंता नहीं थी कि देश को आजादी मिलेगी या ना, लेकिन उनको एक बात की चिंता थी कि आजादी के बाद देश कौन से हाथों में जाएगा, देश के हालात क्या होंगे। हमने आजादी की जंग इसलिए लड़ी थी ताकि हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ियों की जिंदगी आसान हो सके, ना कि इसलिए कि वो जगह जगह पर सरकारी दफ्तरों में धक्के खाएं, परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़े। अगर जंग सबने इकट्ठे होकर लड़ी थी आजादी की, तो फिर सुख सहूलतें भी सबको इकट्ठी मिलनी चाहिए। हम तो शहीदों के पांव की मिट्टी के एक धूल के तिनके के बराबर भी नहीं है, लेकिन ये बसंती रंग की पग शहीदों के सपनों और इरादों की हमें याद दिलाती रहती है कि हमारे देश में आम लोगों के सिर्फ दिन रात नहीं, हालात बदलने चाहिए। चुनाव के समय हम लोगों के पास जा सकते हैं, तो चुनाव के बाद सरकार बनती है, तो सरकार बनने के बाद भी सरकारों को जनता के पास जाना चाहिए, ना कि जनता सरकारी दफ्तरों में खज्जल खुआर हो। यही आजादी के असली मायने हैं। शहीद आजम सरदार भगत सिंह जी के सपनों को साकार करने के लिए पंजाब सरकार ने फैसला किया है कि पंजाब के लोगों को अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर नहीं लगाने पड़ेंगे, बल्कि सरकारी दफ्तर खुद चल के लोगों के घर पर आएंगे।
अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर काटने की जरूरत नहीं, बस डायल करें 1076 और सरकारी सुविधाएं अपने घर पर ही पाएं। पंजाब की भगवंत मान सरकार आपके द्वार।
केंट से पानी होता है 100% प्योर।
केंट आरओ प्योरिटी दिखाता भी है।
केंट देता है सबसे शुद्ध पानी।
Staying with Republic, and while Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the 38th convocation ceremony of Bharati Dasan University in Tamil Nadu, while addressing the ceremony, Prime Minister Modi highlighted India's trade deal with important economies and said that these deals will create countless new opportunities for our youth. Listen in.
India has also sealed a number of trade deals with important economies. These deals will open up new markets for our goods and services. They also create countless new opportunities for our youth. Whether it is strengthening institutions like the G20, fighting climate change, or playing a bigger role in the global supply chain, India is being welcomed as a part of every global solution. In many ways, due to the local and global factors, this is the best time to be young in India. Make the most of this time to make our country to new heights. Enan Madav Kudumbame, some of you may be thinking that today is the end of university life for you. That may be true, but it is not the end of learning. You will not be taught by your professors anymore, but life will become your teacher. In the spirit of constant learning, it is important to proactively work on unlearning, reskilling and upskilling, because in a rapidly transforming world, either you drive change or change drives you. Once again, I congratulate the young people graduating here today.
Siddaramaiah government opens 31-year-old case against Karsewaks ahead of Mandir inauguration. Amid speculation of Jharkhand Chief Minister's resignation, BJP claims Soren's wife to take over.
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
अनुकूल नीति, सिंगल विंडो सिस्टम, ऑनलाइन शूटिंग की अनुमति और सब्सिडी की सुविधा ने उत्तर प्रदेश को बनाया है देश का मोस्ट फिल्म फ्रेंडली स्टेट। 80 फिल्मों को सब्सिडी के तौर पर दिए गए हैं 44 करोड़ रुपए। विभिन्न स्थानों पर 450 से अधिक फिल्मों की हुई है शूटिंग। स्थानीय कलाकारों को मिला है अपना हुनर दिखाने का अवसर। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी मानते हैं कि सकारात्मक फिल्में समाज को जागरूक बनाने का आधार हैं। इसी के अनुरूप माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी की पहल पर विश्व स्तरीय सुविधाओं से लैस इंटरनेशनल फिल्म सिटी की स्थापना की जा रही है। फिल्म स्टूडियो, होटल्स, मॉल्स, थीम पार्क, मिक्सिंग और रिकॉर्डिंग स्टूडियो जैसी सुविधाएं फिल्म उद्योग के माध्यम से आकर्षित करेंगी पूंजी निवेश। मोस्ट फिल्म फ्रेंडली स्टेट, नए भारत का नया उत्तर प्रदेश।
आपने सोमानी का नया रोल देखा? वही स्टाइल और रेंज सोमानी बाथवेयर में भी। सोमानी बाथवेयर।
इस पल को मुमकिन करने के लिए अबीर ने पहले से ही शुरुआत कर दी थी।
ये पल सच हुआ, ये पल पलकों पे सूरज सा उगा, ये पल मानो रुक सा।
और म्यूचुअल फंड से शुरुआत करना समझदारी की निशानी है।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
मोदी सरकार की गारंटी, महिलाओं के लिए धुआं मुक्त रसोई। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना के तहत 10 करोड़ गैस कनेक्शन। हमारा संकल्प विकसित भारत।
कैंट से पानी होता है 100% प्योर।
कैंट आरओ प्योरिटी दिखाता भी है।
कैंट देता है सबसे शुद्ध पानी।
जहाँ यादगार होता है हर एक किस्सा। इको रिट्रीट ओडिशा।
Thank you for saying with Republic. Two youth from Delhi have set out on a foot journey to participate in the grand ceremony of the consecration of Lord Sri Ram in Ayodhya. While talking to Republic, they told us that they will travel 700 kilometers from Delhi to Ayodhya to reach on time for the big day. Listen in.
हमारे साथ दो ऐसे युवा हैं जो कि पैदल यात्रा करके भगवान राम यानी कि अयोध्या तक पहुंचने की कोशिश करेंगे और साफ तौर पर ये यात्रा शुरू हो चुकी है। अभी हम सेंट्रल दिल्ली में मौजूद हैं और इस यात्रा के दौरान हमने इनको रोकने की कोशिश की और इनसे जानने की कोशिश की है कि इनकी यात्रा कहां से कहां तक ये जाएंगे। साफ तौर पे पहले तो आप अपना नाम बताइए और बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं आपको इस यात्रा के लिए।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और सबको जय श्री राम। तो मेरा नाम प्रांशु है और
मेरा नाम सोनू है।
कैसे ये यात्रा का ख्याल आया?
एक्चुअली मैंने पहले देखा कि काफ़ी पहले मैं ट्रैवल ही करता था और मैंने काफ़ी सारी लोगों को जाना, तो मुझे लगा कि इस बार मुझे क्यों ना पैदल एक बार ये यात्रा करनी चाहिए, क्योंकि जैसे प्रभु श्री राम ने वन भटकते थे, वो भी पैदल ही भटकते थे। तो मुझे लगा क्यों ना हमारे पास आज तो इतना सुविधाएं हैं, सारी रोड हैं, सब कुछ है, तो हमने सोचा क्यों ना दिल्ली से अयोध्या चलते हैं पैदल। और इससे क्या होगा, सनातन धर्म का जो प्रचार है वो भी होगा। इससे बड़ी बात क्या हो सकती है, और मतलब अपने प्रभु श्री राम जी से मिल सकते हैं, इससे बड़ा साधन क्या हो सकता है।
एक लंबे आंदोलन के बाद अब प्रभु श्री राम का मंदिर तैयार हो चुका है। प्राण प्रतिष्ठा कार्यक्रम है 22 को और आपकी यात्रा भी शुरू हो चुकी है। कितने दिनों की ये यात्रा रही?
यात्रा लगभग 22 तक तो वैसे पहुंचने का हमारा है, देखते कितने दिन में पहुंचते हैं। 22 तक पूरा कोशिश से पहुंच जाएंगे। बिल्कुल,
यहाँ पे ध्वजा भी आपने लगा के रखा है और भारत का झंडा भी लगा के रखा है, दोनों नहीं, और पूरी तरीके से क्या क्या तैयारी कर रखी है?
हमारे पास अपने कपड़े हैं, सोने के लिए टेंट है, हमारा मतलब स्लीपिंग बैग भी है, सब चीज़ तैयारी है, हर चीज़ लेके चलते हैं हम।
मन में क्या ख्याल आया इस यात्रा को शुरू करने के बाद?
मन में ये ख्याल है कि पहले तो मुझे लगा कि कैसे होगा, फिर मुझे एक मेरा दोस्त है उसने मुझे बोला कि उस हरि पे भरोसा है ना, वो सब कर देगा। तो बिल्कुल वो वही संसार चला रहे हैं, वही पालनहार है। तो
साफ तौर पे यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं, अगर हम इनको उल्टा करें और यहाँ पर इनका पोस्टर देखें तो इनके बैक पे एक पोस्टर है, दिल्ली टू अयोध्या 700 किलोमीटर पैदल यात्रा, और साफ तौर पे मंदिर की तस्वीर है, अपना राष्ट्रीय ध्वज है और पूरी तरीके से ये तैयारी करके पैदल यात्रा शुरू कर चुके हैं।
For a short commercial break. On the other side, Congress comes to the defense of protesting truckers, says hit and run laws passed without discussion. Major tussle within Indi over Prime Ministerial face. Congress plays peacemaker with Nitish.
Brace yourselves for a revolutionary leap into the world of news with the Republic World app. This is not just an app, viewers, it's a direct conduit to a world of news delivered with unparalleled authority and integrity right at your fingertips. Republic World app is your gateway to the latest updates, live streams and the debates that have become the hallmark of our journalistic prowess. Download Republic World app, available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
There's a reason why over 200 new age companies scout for talent from our campuses. It's because we've future-proofed our courses with a higher technological baseline, with a thrust on specialized industry skills and tech innovation skills. The Amrita School of Engineering. Tomorrow's engineering today.
मोदी सरकार की गारंटी, हर घर पहुंचेगा नल से जल। अब तक 13.5 करोड़ से अधिक नल कनेक्शन। हमारा संकल्प, विकसित भारत।
भाई इतनी बड़ी टाइल,
इतनी बड़ी बड़ी हिट्स आप लोगों ने मुझे दी हैं। टाइल्स तो बड़े होने चाहिए। सुमानी मैक्स टाइल्स, टाइलों का सबसे बड़ा भाई। सुमानी मैक्स टाइल्स, जमीन से जुड़े।
Helps beat sensitivity fast. Sensodyne Rapid Relief.
हमारे देश को आजाद हुए 76 साल हो गए, लेकिन कई चीजों में हमको अभी आजादी नहीं मिली। जैसे कि सरकारी दफ्तरों में दुश्वारियां, परेशानियां, बदइंतजामियां। हमारे शहीदों को इस बात की कतई चिंता नहीं थी कि देश को आजादी मिलेगी या ना, लेकिन उनको एक बात की चिंता थी कि आजादी के बाद देश कौन से हाथों में जाएगा, देश के हालात क्या होंगे। हमने आजादी की जंग इसलिए लड़े, पांव की मिट्टी के एक धूल के तिनके के बराबर भी नहीं है, लेकिन ये बसंती रंग की पग शहीदों के सपनों और इरादों की हमें याद दिलाती रहती है कि हमारे देश में आम लोगों के सिर्फ दिन रात नहीं, हालात बदलने चाहिए। चुनाव के समय हम लोगों के पास जा सकते हैं, तो चुनाव के बाद सरकार बनती है, तो सरकार बनने के बाद भी सरकारों को जनता के पास जाना चाहिए, ना कि जनता सरकारी दफ्तरों में खज्जल खुआर हो। यही आजादी के असली मायने हैं। शहीद आजम सरदार भगत सिंह जी के सपनों को साकार करने के लिए पंजाब सरकार ने फैसला किया है कि पंजाब के लोगों को अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर नहीं लगाने पड़ेंगे, बल्कि सरकारी दफ्तर खुद चल के लोगों के घर पर आएंगे।
अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर काटने की जरूरत नहीं, बस डायल करें 1076 और सरकारी सुविधाएं अपने घर पर ही पाएं। पंजाब की भगवंत मान सरकार आपके द्वार।
Brace yourselves for a revolutionary leap into the world of news with the Republic World app. This is not just an app, viewers, It's a direct conduit to a world of news delivered with unparalleled authority and integrity right at your fingertips. Republic World app is your gateway to the latest updates, live streams and the debates that have become the hallmark of our journalistic prowess. Download Republic World app, available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
I would say it was not so much that there was a turning point, I mean, unless, and you can call 2014 as a turning point. Once, Modi comes in 2014 and really weighs the foreign policy, which now he's taken charge of. That's essentially the chapter which I described, where you can see, he feels the need for a new construct, that one where the neighborhood, very generous, non-reciprocal policy towards the neighborhood, which brings the neighborhood in closer. To the fact that we have an extended zone.
The mandalas that you talk about.
Yes, the Southeast Asia, Indian Ocean, the Gulf, Central Asia. Now, we had made some progress definitely in Southeast Asia, but if you look, for example,
The biggest story tonight, powered by Century Laminates.
Siddaramaiah government opens 31-year-old case against Karsewaks. BJP calls it appeasement politics. Congress stoops to a new low, attacks Prime Minister, now says he must not attend Mandir inauguration. BJP declares a roadmap for 2024 now, coins Teesri Bar Modi Sarkar slogan. Major tussle within India over Prime Ministerial race. Congress plays peacemaker with miffed Nitish. Jaishankar shows Canada the mirror, says Khalistani elements given free run under Trudeau government. Five dead after fire at Tokyo airport after collision between Japan Airlines plane and Japan Coast Guard plane. With 20 days to go for the mega Ram Mandir inauguration, Ayodhya is all decked up. We are putting out reports coming in from the temple town, filed by my colleague Priyanka Sharma. Ladies and gentlemen, entire town of Ayodhya is now celebrating the opening of Ram Mandir. But across the country, especially when it comes to our political parties, what they've essentially been doing is playing politics over this entire matter. So how exactly are the people of Ayodhya responding to what we see really playing out in the national capital? Take a look at some of the reports sent by my colleague Priyanka.
Janmabhoomi Temple is being inaugurated on 22nd. There are a lot of historically significant places as well that are all set to be developed and dedicated to the people of Ayodhya. Over 100 kunds have also been developed, are going to be developed in the Master Plan 2031. One such very important kund where we are is at the Bharat Kund. Now there is a lot of historically significance of this particular kund as well, specifically where we see that Lord Ram's brother Bharat in fact had come to keep his padukas in here as well, and those have also been embedded over here at this particular place, where we can see the significance of that as far as Bharat Kund is concerned. And this is where in fact he had also come to get an appeal to Lord Ram to come back to his kingdom in Ayodhya and not go for the exile of 14 years. Now that being said, we are looking at how the ADA and the authorities in fact have also made a plan can for making sure that this entire kund that we also see is not completely developed, it's not completely well made, and that is why we are looking at projects of this 100 kunds that are going to be completely renovated and restructured and made a little better to facilitate more and more footfall of devotees, because even now as we see a lot of people who have gathered here at this Bharat Kund, a lot of emotion and a lot of devotion with which they are also coming here and taking a dip in the Bharat Kund as well. So now that being said, we are looking at how 100 such kunds that have their own story is going to be developed. Each and every kund, then be it Surya Kund, Bharat Kund, Sita Kund, all of these kunds that have historical significance. In fact, we are looking at these temples as well that are being completely renovated and restructured by the authorities to make sure that each and every story of the Ramayana is also reflected and is made in a better way, so that more people and more devotees, in fact, who come here for their worshipping, for the prayers that they want to do in Ayodhya, even as they are coming to Ram Janmabhoomi temple, it is not just about that one temple, but several hundreds of such kunds, hundreds of such temples, hundreds of such stories that essentially people have their faith in, and they want to experience these stories as well. And that is why the authorities are going to be developing these kunds this way, in which at least 100 such kunds like this, water bodies that have been identified, they will be developed, and there will be a lot of recreational and facilitations as well that will be developed in and around these kunds as well. We are right now in the Brahmakund Gurudwara here in Ayodhya, and the kind of rich history that we are also recording for our viewers to understand as the 22nd of January approaches, of how the kind of different communities of Ayodhya had played a very key and important role in this entire Ram Janmabhoomi temple agitation that had been going on. But the most crucial one is that perhaps of the Nihang Sikh community that had in fact barged in the 1858 year, and the Baba Fakir Singh Khalsa, in fact, who has been named in the FIR, the very first FIR that had been registered in this entire Ram Janmabhoomi case, which had also been cited in the Supreme Court verdict, and post which we are looking at the 6th and 7th generation of the Nihang Sikhs who had in fact gone inside, and along with Baba Fakir Singh Khalsa, there were 25 other Nihang Sikh community members who had gone inside, had carried out a havan, and then had also inscribed Ram inside of the temple itself. Let's get in a word from the Mukhya Granthi, who is in fact joining us, who is the 6th generation of the Nihang Sikhs who had gone inside. बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद सर हमसे बात करने के लिए. हमें थोड़ी सी जो मान्यताएं हैं, कहानियां हैं जो हमें सुनने को मिलती हैं बाबा फ़कीर सिंह खालसा की, या जो आपके जो पूर्वज थे और जो भी उनके साथ में गए थे, उनके बारे में थोड़ा बताइए कि क्या हुआ था उस दिन, क्या क्या आपने सुना है. वो तो खैर काफ़ी सारा रिकॉर्ड पे है, पर जो कहानी जो है वो हमें थोड़ी सी बताइए. किस तरह से अंदर गए थे, हवन किया था, और कैसे वो पहला एक जो स्टेप था राम जन्मभूमि टेम्पल के एजिटेशन.
देखिए, हमारे जो यहाँ पर परंपरा पीढ़ियों की है वो महंत की परंपरा है. गुलाब सिंह जी स्टार्ट हुआ, उसके बाद उनके जो हमारे उनके जो गुरु सेवक हुए थे बाबा सतुरजीत सिंह जी, वो जब निहंग सिंह वहाँ से आए वहाँ, तो निहंग सिंह यहाँ पे आए, क्योंकि हमारे पूर्वज बाबा गुलाब सिंह जी निहंग सिंह थे, तो वो उस परंपरा को मुख्य रख के वो यहाँ पे आए, इनसे मिले, और ऐसा सुनने में आ रहा कि ये भी साथ में उनके साथ में वहाँ तक गए थे. और फिर वहाँ पर युद्ध करने के बाद होने के बाद में छुड़ा के हिंदुओं को सौंप के फिर बाद में हवन भी हुआ और कड़ा प्रसाद भी बांटा गया. तो सब मिलके वहाँ पर हवन में शामिल हुए, कड़ा प्रसाद वहाँ पर बांटा, और वहाँ पर राम राम लिखा कि मैं अब हमारे कब्जे में ही आ गया है, अब मुक्त हो गया राम जन्म मुगलों से, ऐसा कहते हैं.
शत्रुजीत सिंह जी और जसवंत सिंह जी जो आपके दो यहाँ पर हम हमारे दर्शकों को भी दिखाएंगे कि किस तरह से उनकी भी जो हिस्ट्री है, जो साथ में गए थे बाबा फकीर सिंह खालसा जी के साथ में, किस तरह से उन्होंने अंदर क्या क्या किया था, और उसके बाद जब पूरा ये जो हवन हुआ था, FIR हुई थी, तब वहाँ पे ही बाबा फकीर सिंह खालसा जी वहाँ पे रह रहे थे, उनको फिर एविक्ट किया गया था, तो उसकी भी कुछ जो है जो आपको पता चली है आपके फैमिली मेम्बर से भी, उसका भी
ऐसा बताते हैं हमारे बुजुर्ग लोग कि भाई साथ में वो लोग वहाँ पे गए थे, वहाँ से बाद में करने के बाद में वहाँ पर उनको वहाँ से हटाया गया, ऐसा भी कहते हैं लोग, पर ऐसा नहीं भी है, क्योंकि वो अपना काम करने के बाद में सब मुक्त करवा के फिर वो खुद ही बाहर आए थे वहाँ पर और यहाँ वहाँ पर हवन करके राम राम लिख के काल प्रसाद बांट के फिर वो चले गए पंजाब, फिर वो यहाँ से होते हुए।
किस तरह से देखते हैं कि ये जो काफ़ी सारे जो 25 जितने जो कम्युनिटी मेंबर्स थे निहंग सिख के जो अंदर गए थे, बाहर पहरा भी दिया था, क्या किस तरह से देखते हैं और क्या उसकी कहानी है और कितने लोग थे वो, और उसके बारे में कुछ डिटेल्स?
देखिए, जो निहंग सिंह की जो परंपरा है, चूँकि राम हमारे पूर्वज थे, हम उनके वंशज अपने आप को मानते हैं, तो जो राम मंदिर राम जी का जन्म स्थान जो था वो किसी मुगलों के कब्जे में था। तो एक यहाँ के संतों ने जब यहाँ पुकार की कि हमको इसको आज़ाद कराना है, तो हमारे पूर्वजों से आके उनकी मुलाकात हुई यहाँ पर। तो उन्होंने पंजाब में जो निहंग सिंह थे उन लोगों से आज्ञा मांगी कि आप हमारे साथ आइए और हम चल करके वहाँ पर उसको करेंगे। तो वो लोग 25 लोग, ज़्यादा लोग रहे होंगे, संभवतः 25 लोग यहाँ से गए थे और यहाँ फ़ौज पड़ी हुई थी कि अगर कोई आवश्यकता पड़ेगी तो फिर यहाँ से चले जाएंगे। तो वहाँ जाके आज़ाद कराया। आज़ाद कराने के बाद सबको हटा दिया। लगभग ये लड़ाई चली है 8-9 दिन या 18 दिन के करीब ऐसी थी, उनके हाथ में कब्जे में था। और उसके बाद फिर उन्होंने, मुगलों ने ये संभाल नहीं पाए, ये वापस चले गए। तो फिर जब लौटे वो लोग, लौट के चले गए, तो मुसलमानों ने फिर कब्जा कर लिया उसको। फिर मेरे हाथ से चला गया ये हिंदुओं के हाथ से।
तो ये किस तरह से जो आपकी कम्युनिटी है उसकी भी मान्यता है कि वो क्यों एक बहुत ही ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट स्थल है, क्यों जो निहंग सिख हैं उन्होंने सबसे ये शुरुआत की, सबसे पहले राम जन्मभूमि टेम्पल के अंदर जाके हवन किया, बाबा फ़कीर सिंह खालसा जी अंदर गए, तो क्यों महत्वता है उसकी? क्योंकि ऐसे कई सारे जो स्टेटमेंट्स है सुप्रीम कोर्ट के वर्डिक्ट में भी है कि भगवान निराकार है, वो मान्यता है। और गुरु गोबिंद सिंह जी खुद वहाँ पर गए हुए हैं, वो भी एक मान्यता है, जिसकी वजह से ये एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट एक स्थल है, मतलब रिलीजियस।
चूँकि निहंग सिंह फौज जो है गुरु गोबिंद सिंह महाराज के साथ ही लड़ती रही शुरू से, और हमारे पूर्वज जब वहाँ पे गए उस जगह पर, तो जो पूर्वज वहाँ गए, जहाँ भी गए वो हमारा स्थान अपने आप को माना जाता है कि हमारे पूर्वज वहाँ गए हैं तो हमारा ये स्थान है। तो किसी प्रकार से कोई आपत्ति अगर उसको आती है तो हम कभी भी रहेंगे तो हम उसकी सुरक्षा जरूर करेंगे, किसी प्रकार बगैर किसी के स्वार्थ के हम उसकी सुरक्षा करना है, मेरी जिम्मेदारी है। आज नहीं, अंत तक करना है। ये हमारी पीढ़ियाँ रहेंगे, हमारे पूर्वज भी आने वाली पीढ़ियाँ भी करती रहेंगी इस चीज़ को।
और अब बताइए कि क्योंकि अब आपके ही पूर्वज थे जिन्होंने ये शुरुआत की, और अब इतने सालों बाद 170 जितने सालों बाद अब मंदिर बनने वाला है, मंदिर की तैयारी हो चुकी है, इनॉग्रेशन 22 जनवरी को होने वाला है, किस तरह से देखते हैं, क्या महसूस करते हैं?
बहुत खुशी का माहौल है, बहुत खुशी का समय है। हम लोग देख रहे हैं, अपने साक्षी बन रहे हैं हम लोग। ये सब इतनी आसानी से नहीं हुआ, मंदिर का बनना शुरू हुआ है। ये पूर्वजों के, हमारे संतों के, कारसेवकों के, भक्तों की कुर्बानी का, त्याग तपस्या का फल है। और आज हम 22 जनवरी को देखने जा रहे हैं। ये हमारे लिए बहुत खुशी की बात है और सबका सहयोग इसमें, जिसमें हमारे कारसेवक हुए, संत हुए, हमारी माताएं, जो हमारी साध्वी लोग हुए, रीताम्बरा जैसे लोग, और पहले भी हमारे जितने हुए, सब उनके त्याग तपस्या और मेहनत का फल है। और उसी से हम लोग आज देख रहे हैं। इससे बड़े गर्व की बात, खुशी की बात और कुछ हो नहीं सकती। हमारे प्रभु राम का मंदिर बन रहा है।
दूसरे आपके पूरी मैं लिनिएज यहाँ पर देख रही हूँ कि सारे जो आपके पूर्वज थे उन्होंने भी किस तरह से अपना योगदान दिया था इसको लेके, तो थोड़ा बहुत अगर और डिटेल्स में अगर हमें आप बता पाएं कि किस तरह से उन्होंने क्या क्या योगदान दिया था, और वो फ़कीर सिंह खालसा जी के साथ में किस तरह से अंदर थे, और कई बार जो राम राम जो लिखा गया था अंदर वो भी उसमें उस समय पे शामिल।
हाँ, ये तो है। जो जिस तरह से वहाँ पे लोग यहाँ गए, उस जगह गए वहाँ पर, तो अब बड़ा माहौल डिस्टर्ब था। लेकिन चूँकि निहंग सिंह अपने किसी गुरु के कार्य के लिए हमेशा तत्पर रहते हैं, तो जिस प्रकार का भी माहौल था उन्होंने अपने आप को वहाँ लड़ाई करके, भीड़ करके, सब कुछ करके उन्होंने आज़ाद करा लिया था। और फिर शांत माहौल हो गया था। लेकिन चूँकि उसमें शासन सत्ता दूसरे के हाथ में थी, फिर उन्होंने मुगलों के हाथ में थी, तो उन्होंने फिर कब्जा कर लिया उसको। और पूर्वजों के हमारे बाद भी लड़ाई होती रही। हमारा खानदान पूरा आज भी, ये राम मंदिर के समय सन 1992 में, सन 1990 में हम लोग वहाँ थे। हमने कोई भी आंदोलन रहा हो, चाहे किसी प्रकार से देश में रहा हो, चाहे बनारस में धर्म सम्मेलन रहा, हर जगह हम लोगों ने, उन्होंने बुलाया, हम पहुँचे वहाँ पर।
तो अब 22 जनवरी, हाँ, और 22 जनवरी को अब किस तरह से आप लोग भी सेवा दे रहे हैं, किस तरह से आप लोग भी काम कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि ढेर सारे लोग अब आने वाले अयोध्या में वही राम मंदिर देखने।
सन 92 में जब ये ढांचा ध्वस्त हुआ, ढांचा मतलब ये हटा, उस समय हम लोग वहीं पर मौजूद थे, ऊपर मंच पर थे। राजमाता सिंधिया जी, जोशी जी, आडवाणी जी, सब हम लोग साथ में, सब कारसेवक लोग थे, संत लोग थे, अपनी आँख से मैंने देखा। अब जो समय सन 22 जनवरी का आ रहा है, उसमें अतिथि देवो भव के उसके नीचे हमारी लंगर लगाने की योजना हमारी है 18 जनवरी से 23 जनवरी तक। और अब ये देखना है कि ये पब्लिक किस तरीके से आ रही है, क्योंकि प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने कहा कि सब लोग अपने उस दिन घर पे रहें, उसके भगवान राम पधर जाएं, बैठ जाएं, उनका प्राण प्रतिष्ठा हो जाए, उसके बाद लोग आना जाना शुरू करें। तो ये भी अच्छी बात है कि भीड़ ज़्यादा बढ़ न जाए, उन लोगों को सुविधा ना हो, उसको देखते हुए फिर हम लंगर यहाँ पर हमारे लगाने की योजना 18 से 24 तक है।
Alright, so you can see how the Nihang Sikh community is also gearing up for the 22nd of January and how they are in fact already planning for the Pran Pratishtha program, because, and why not, since they are the ones who had in fact started the entire agitation, the ancestors of the people in fact we just spoke to, who had gotten in and carried out that Havan.
On the biggest story tonight, getting you that big exclusive, complainant Jay Anand Dehadrai has now written to the Central Bureau of Investigation alleging illegal snooping by Trinamool Congress parliamentarian Mahua Moitra. In fact, Dehadrai has claimed that Mahua was using top Bengal police contacts to illegally track and snoop on ex-boyfriend. Dehadrai has also claimed that Mahua had the precise location and movement of ex-boyfriend. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a big allegation that has been levelled by Jaya Anand Dehadrai. In fact, this letter was written on 29th of December to the Central Bureau of Investigation. Sources within the agency have also now confirmed that they are in the possession of this letter that has been written to Central Bureau of Investigation. Jay Anand Dehadrai. Let me just take you through some of the details of the letter that has now been accessed by Republic TV. We'll also try and go across to our reporters on the ground getting you the latest details. But first, a quick recap of what we know so far. The letter that has been accessed by Republic TV. These are some big allegations that have been levelled against Mahua Moitra, and I'm going to take you through the big takeaways of this letter. First, big allegation. Jay Anand Dehadrai has put on record allegations of Mahua's illegal snooping. This is what he says, that Mahua Moitra was using top Bengal contacts to illegally track and snoop. He has now put out details. In fact, CDR details have been put out by Jay Anand Dehadrai. He says that West Bengal police was being used to track down ex-boyfriend and German lady. Jay Anand Dehadrai also claims that Mahua had got full CDR details of ex-boyfriend from police. In fact, in the letter that has been sent to the Central Bureau of Investigation, it turns out that Jay Anand Dehadrai has also attached the CDR. The CDR, the call data record of her ex-boyfriend and also a German lady whom she suspected was in a relationship. In fact, Jay Anand Dehadrai says that Mahua Moitra was in touch with top Kolkata police, and the contacts were largely being used to find out about ex-boyfriend's whereabouts. He also says, and I quote, stock precise whereabouts of individuals. Jay Anand Dehadrai claims that Mahua had precise location, movement of ex-boyfriend. In fact, Mahua had shown him that had showed up at a Delhi luxury hotel after illegally tracking her ex-boyfriend. Jay Anand Dehadrai tells Central Bureau of Investigation that Mahua threatened him, had his location details also. In fact, let's put this out. The big claim that is made by Jay Anand Dehadrai that she had, that Trinamool Congress parliamentarian had access to phone tapping. In fact, Jay Anand Dehadrai also says that when I told Mahua to leave my home one night, she threatened to jump. These are some of the details, ladies and gentlemen, coming in from the letter that has been written to the Central Bureau of Investigation. And we've also confirmed from our sources within the CBI, and my colleague Mahua has also reached out to the complainant, a confirmation coming in as far as the contents of this letter goes. It is now confirmed that the Central Bureau of Investigation is in possession of this letter that was recently shot off by Jay Anand Dehadrai. This means more trouble for the parliamentarian. In fact, my sources within the agency indicating that the preliminary inquiry is already underway. This is after Lokpal, after the Lokpal had also issued more details and had provided details to the Central Bureau of Investigation. We'll try and go across to Madhurima as well as Abhishek Kapoor getting us the latest details. As far as the Central Bureau of Investigation goes, it turns out that they are currently looking at the quid pro quo charges that have been leveled against her. And also, we are being told that they are in touch with the stakeholders. So that's very important to point out here. They are in touch with the details that we're getting in, that they are in touch with the stakeholders. A confirmation also coming in from the CBI. They said that they've received the letter on Saturday, is what I'm being told by my sources. Jayanant Dehadrai, who's also spoken to my colleague Madhurima. We'll try and get her live from the newsroom here. Madhurima, you've accessed the letter that was written by Jayanant Dehadrai to the Central Bureau of Investigation. You've been closely tracking Jayanant Dehadrai, who in the past too have made some sensational allegations against Mahua Moitra. First, walk us through the details of the complaint that has been sent to the Central Bureau of Investigation. You've also reached out to Jayanant Dehadrai. He's confirmed those contents of the letter.
Well, yes, absolutely, Shravan. Mr. Dehadrai has confirmed the authenticity of the letter, and this letter has some very serious charges against Ms. Moitra. What needs to be seen here is that Mr. Dehadrai, in the initial paragraph, expresses his apprehensions that he is being tracked illegally by Ms. Moitra, as he alleges that Ms. Moitra is misusing the sources of the West Bengal government, following which he moves on to speak about a Mr. Mukherjee, apparently an ex-partner of Ms. Moitra, according to this complaint. And he also emphasizes that how not only Ms. Mukherjee was being spied on by Ms. Moitra, or also there was a lady friend of Ms. Mukherjee who was also under the surveillance. This is what the complaint alleges. What needs to be seen here is that Mr. Dehadrai has also attached multiple WhatsApp clippings where he claims that Ms. Moitra had already told him also, and over the WhatsApp as well, that how she has been tracking one of her ex-boyfriends, according to this complaint. Now we'll have to wait and watch if Ms. Moitra has to say something about it or not, because it's a detailed CBI complaint that we've accessed over here, Shravan, that explains as to what are the charges and what are the allegations that Mr. Dehadrai has levelled against Ms. Moitra. Shravan.
Well, in fact, let's also take you through the details we are getting from our sources within the Central Bureau of Investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, it means more trouble for parliamentarian Mahua Moitra as the preliminary inquiry is already underway. Just to put this into perspective, what does this essentially mean? While we are also getting in more details, breaking news now coming in. Jayanant Dehadrai, we've reached out to the complainant for getting in more details of this. Jayanant Dehadrai has confirmed to my colleague Madhurima the contents of the letter. This letter was written on the 29th of December. We've also reached out to our sources within the Central Bureau of Investigation to get another set of confirmation. We're also getting more details from the agency that they are in the possession of this letter that has been shot off by Jayanant Dehadrai, where serious allegations have been leveled against Mahua Moitra. First big sensational allegation that has been leveled is of illegal snooping. Ladies and gentlemen, in that two-page letter that has been shot off by Jayanant Dehadrai, he's also attached screenshots of the CDR, the call data records, which essentially means that the parliamentarian did actually have access to a security agency. It turns out that this time she had used her proximity rather with a top official within Kolkata police to put an individual, a private person, under illegal snooping. So much so, they also had details of the movement of that individual. Jayanant Dehadrai claims that he too was threatened by Mahua Moitra. A quick response coming in from Madhurima once again, while we try and go across to our senior executive editor, Abhishek Kapoor, who is also confirming to us that the letter was received by the Central Bureau of Investigation on 29th of December, which essentially means that as the Central Bureau of Investigation comes to an end as far as the preliminary inquiry is concerned, it is not far away that the Central Bureau of Investigation would thereafter perhaps would be registering an FIR against Mahua Moitra, and that would mean more trouble for the suspended parliamentarian. Madhurima, you've spoken to Jayanant Dehadrai. What is it that you're picking up?
Well, Well, Shravan, in an exclusive conversation, Mr. Dehadra is saying that he is fearing for his life. The text that I'll read, that he's saying that I have no further comment. I fear for my life, and he asserts over the fact that I would want to come out and comment, but he is fearful of the power that Ms. Moitro yields and the way she has been using the government machinery. He has asserted over the fact that he is afraid of Ms. Moitro and hence is a little skeptical about speaking. But yes, he has exclusively replied to Republic TV, asserting that he's fearful of Ms. Moitro, he fears for his life, and hence he is not coming out and speaking in detail. But the complaint in itself speaks volumes, Shravan.
Well, just to stay with that big news now coming in, let's put out that big breaking news. We have reached out to Jay Anant Dehadra. He says that he fears for his safety, for his life. Remember, Jay Anant Dehadra, in that letter that has been sent to the Central Bureau of Investigation, also says that he was threatened by the parliamentarian. This when she had provided details that her ex-partner was under surveillance. She, in fact, provided evidence to the effect that she had access to his call data record. In fact, an allegation has been levelled that the parliamentarian had also created a massive ruckus inside a luxury hotel here in the national capital. So far, we haven't really heard anything from the parliamentarian at this point in time. But remember, these are some sensational charges that have been levelled. So let's quickly take you a recap of what we know so far. The content of the letter that has been accessed by Republic TV, that's sensational to say the least. Let's put out the details first with regards to that letter that has been accessed. And then we also take you through what's the current status of the preliminary inquiry that has been conducted by the Central Bureau of Investigation. And thirdly, we're also going to get you what we are now putting out is the conversation that my colleague Madhurama had with Jay Anant Dehadra, who is now telling us Dehadra tells Republic that he fears for his life. That's a big update coming in. There is, we've reached out for more comment from Mr. Dehadra as far as the latest details coming in. Let me just quickly quote what Mr. Jay Anant Dehadra had to say. She says to my colleague Madhuraba that he has no further comment. He fears for his life, and he says that he fears for his own safety. Let's now take you through the content of the letter, and I'll go back to my colleague Madhuram in a short while from now, while we just quickly take our viewers to the latest details. This is a big development, big twist that's taking place with that letter that has been written. One big takeaway from the letter: illegal snooping charges have been levelled against Mahua Moitro. In fact, Jay Anant Dehadra says that Mahua Moitro was using top Bengal police contacts to illegally track and also snoop. He makes the sensational charge that Mahua Moitro had actually used her proximity influence with the Kolkata police to track down ex-boyfriend, a German lady. In fact, she had access to full CDR details of ex-boyfriend from the police. Jay Anant Dehadra also claims that the police was being used to find out whereabouts of her ex-boyfriend. And I'm quoting from the letter. He says, "Stock precise whereabouts of individuals." He says that he too was threatened. Jay Anant Dehadra says that he was threatened that she had access to her location details, and she was also phone tapping. These are some charges that have been levelled. Major stalking, illegal snooping allegation on Mahua Moitro after cash for questioning scandal. Now major stalking allegation against Mahua Moitro. We'll in a short while from now go across to our senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor. But before that, getting us that big story is my colleague Madhurama. Madhurama, you've reached out to Jay Anant Dehadra. He says that he fears for his life.
Yes, absolutely, Shravan, because ever since this news story broke, I first called him to ask for the confirmation, to which he said that yes, the complaint is correct, and all the contents in the complaint that are of very serious nature are also correct and hold a lot of weight moving forward. He also asserted that he fears his life. When we asked for him to come on camera, he says that he's very fearful, he's feeling fearful, he fears for his life, and that he is worried about the connection and the clout that Ms. Moitro holds moving forward, that in the past as well he has been threatened by Ms. Moitro on multiple occasions, and that the way the entire case, his previous case, has also been dealt, he fears for his life. Shravan.
Well, I'll just request you to stay on with us, Madhurima. I'll also bring in my colleague, Senior Executive Editor Abhishek. Perhaps bear me out on this. You did actually have an inkling of this, what was actually happening. We were waiting for an official confirmation to come in with regards to one, the ruckus that was created, the alleged ruckus that was created inside a luxury hotel here in the national capital. One, second, with regards to the access that she had to a top Kolkata police officer, and we can also put out more details saying that the same very Kolkata officer has been under the scanner of the central agency. So undoubtedly she's misused her position as a parliamentarian, perhaps to snoop on a private individual, the same very person who was extremely vocal about what turned out to be completely fake. That was the Pegasus controversy.
Absolutely. So double standards and criminal angle to it, Shawan. You would know better what the agency would do with this complaint. But remember, it's not Mahua Moitra, the MP, misusing her position as a member of parliament, but actually a Trinamool leader, exerting her influence as a Trinamool leader with the Kolkata police commissioner at that time, and using those connections to snoop down on her ex-boyfriend, effectively, not Jayanant Dehadra, another boyfriend at that time. There are call detail records submitted in this complaint which clearly show that Mahua Moitra was closely tracking the whereabouts of that individual, and in fact she trooped down to the place where the Kolkata police helped her find him, and there a scene was created, but that's something personal. What is important is the element of using call detail records and prevailing upon the Kolkata police to help Mahua Moitra in her very private pursuit of zeroing down where her boyfriend was. I think that's illegal, to say the least, and that's why it finds mention in the complaint, which is an omnibus of other issues. Jayanant Dehadra now says that his life can be under threat, but what is important is that Mahua Moitra, who projected herself as a paragon of activism when it comes to snooping, she was taking a very public position on Pegasus, for example, and even otherwise on an earlier episode of snooping, herself found to be snooping on a boyfriend using Kolkata police is something I think is going to snowball, and depending on how the CBI really takes it forward, because there is a formal complaint with the call detail records attached. I think it's not going to be easy for Mahua Moitra to explain what she really did with the help of Kolkata police in terms of snooping down on somebody's private life. In fact, there is a Chinese angle to it, in the sense that the person involved was lobbying for a Chinese firm. There is a German citizen involved. It gets murky, it gets dangerous, and the fact that a member of parliament is with somebody who has Chinese connection, who has a German lobbying firm associated, I think it's going to get complicated as the investigation progresses.
Well, in fact, what we are also picking up, Abhishek, from our sources within the Central Bureau of Investigation, just a quick update for all our viewers who are tuning in. Number one, that the preliminary inquiry is already underway, which essentially means that they have got details with regards to the quid pro quo charges that have been leveled against her. In fact, the Lokpal has provided details with regards to first the complaint that was shared by Jayanant Dehadra, and secondly, we are also being told that they are in the process of concluding the preliminary inquiry, which would essentially be converting this into an FIR in the days to come. In fact, we're getting more breaking news right now. The first after the parliamentary privilege breach, now what we're looking at is yet another allegation that has been leveled of misusing her position, and that too using the Bengal police to stalk her ex-boyfriend, as my colleague and our senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor was also pointing out, that this is not merely about just misusing her position and also influencing the Kolkata police to help her with regards to reaching out about her ex-boyfriend, but it also gives a murkier turn, that is with regards to a Chinese angle that turns out to become the bigger concern right now. As I understand, we'll try and get in more information from our sources, also from the Central Bureau of Investigation, but a quick response also coming in from my colleague Madhurima, who first has accessed that letter and also reached out to Jayanant Dehadra. In fact, Madhurima, you've been in touch with Jayanant Dehadra for over a month now. This is for the first time Jayanant Dehadra has come out in the open where he says that he really fears for his life. Is there any reason behind it? Has he actually reached out to the police for any sort of protection, and why exactly has he made this kind of a comment, which I understand is for the first time?
Well, yes, Shravan, he has made such a serious, complaint to the Central Bureau of Investigation because, Shravan, he has tried his level best to get rid of Ms. Moitro, but we've seen from taking away his pet dog to, slapping multiple cases against him. Mr. Dehadrai has been threatened time and again. We've seen that how Mr. Dehadrai has even approached the Delhi Police Commissioner on multiple occasions where he had initially complained as well, Shravan, that he fears that Ms. Moitro is going to come to his residence, create a ruckus, and then file a complaint of some kind of sexual assault on him only. And he is going to be the victim, he is going to be the accused once again. So fearing the power that Ms. Moitro yields, and as he mentions in that particular letter that he is fearful for his life when he told us that, and that he is fearful of the connection and the clout of Ms. Moitro, Shravan. So such is the reason behind Mr. Dehadrai taking such massive steps, because what sources are telling us that he was not left with much option, and now we see this yet another one more complaint against Ms. Moitro.
Right. Let me also go back to my colleague and our senior executive editor, Abhishek Kapoor. Abhishek, let's also remind our viewers with regards to the first set of charges that have been leveled against her. In fact, the committee that was looking into the charges that have been leveled against her also spoke about the national security concerns, starting from the fact that access that was given to a private businessman to her account, her parliamentary account, by which the private businessman was putting out questions which she had thereafter asked on the floor of the parliament, not once, over 60 times. And the login were from multiple locations, mainly outside India. And that is the reason why herein comes the national security concern.
Well, absolutely. In fact, if you look at this angle also, this particular complaint which has come to light now with Madhurima getting it, Shravan, what is clear is that Mahua Moitra says something else, practices something else, and that double standard is very clear while she's presenting herself as an activist at the forefront on the issues like Pegasus, on snooping, and was making very serious charges against the government without any basis or evidence. She herself was snooping on somebody, which was a private matter actually, but using the services of Kolkata police commissioner there, obliging it. The name is there in the complaint. And there are call detail records. Based on those call detail records, she was seen to be hobnobbing with that individual. She, in fact, zeroed down on the exact location and of the individual and went there and confronted that person who was trying to clearly avoid Mahua Moitra. So obviously, this seems like a very aggressive individual who like in the case of Jayanand Dehadrai earlier, and so in this instance also seems to be willing to cut corners, willing to take the illegal route, willing to indulge in something which clearly falls in the domain of criminality in terms of breaking off sections of the IPC as it exists today. And so obviously, if the CBI really picks up the threads of this complaint and carries out the investigation, there could be more serious charges added to already Mahua Moitra, whatever already she's facing in terms of giving access of her account to somebody who was not authorized in the case of parliament questions, and then of course lobbying, etc. The charges in which she finds herself surrounded, So obviously this is one more of the many cases now against Mahua Moitra, and it's a formal complaint. Attached evidence there in the complaint, as we can see, Shravan, and maybe in a bit we will try to put across some redacted portions of the complaint so that viewers understand what exactly she was up to in terms of tracking an individual, taking the help of Kolkata police. Kolkata police obliging. I think this is going to be serious and can blow up into a big political controversy as well, apart from whatever investigation the CBI does.
Well, in fact, let me just also quickly put out some more details that I'm getting, Abhishek, from my sources within the Central Bureau of Investigation. In fact, 4 stakeholders with regards to the quid pro quo charges have already been examined by the Central Bureau of Investigation. But the difference here, Abhishek, is the fact that the preliminary inquiry is still underway. So by way of completing the preliminary inquiry, the Central Bureau of Investigation in a few days from now would be in a position to convert it into an FIR, which would essentially mean that our criminal charges could perhaps be leveled against parliamentarian Mahua Moitra. They're also looking at the possibility whether at all the National Investigation Agency could also be roped in, keeping in mind that there is a national security concern. But having said that, that's a decision that is going to be taken by the Ministry of Home Affairs with regards to whether at all a case can be actually given to the National Investigation Agency. So far, Abhishek, it turns out that one, they are looking into the number of times the login has actually taken place outside in India. Secondly, they're also looking at whether at all there was a quid pro quo. The very fact that over 60 questions were actually asked on the floor of the parliament, and this comes in from a direct arrival. The questions were essentially set off by a direct arrival, and more importantly, Mahua Moitra had frequently only asked questions about a particular business conglomerate and nothing to do with her own constituency. That is the reason why perhaps the Central Bureau of Investigation also looking at whether there have been any sort of transactions that have taken place. So far, the parliamentarian says that no business transactions have taken place, but will that cut ice with the Central Bureau of Investigation, as there is a possibility that criminal charges could be leveled. Now, illegal snooping, that's the latest charge that has been leveled. Just for a quick response also coming in, Abhishek, just to bring you into this, as I understand, Jayanand Adhyadra has shot off this letter on the 29th of December, where he basically talks about, one, that she was in touch with Jayanand Adhyadra. In fact, she had provided details of the call data records of her ex-partner, so much so she provided details about the fact that a top Kolkata police officer was the one who was actually helping her. We're also picking up from our sources that Mahua Moitra, parliamentarian Mahua Moitra, is not in the country right now. The Central Bureau of Investigation perhaps would, there's a possibility that soon after the FIR is registered, that the parliamentarian could also be called in for questioning soon after the FIR that is registered. Abhishek, what more are you picking up from your sources within the government?
Well, so there is this political aspect also, Shravan. Remember, Mahua Moitra, as I was mentioning, has tried to project a picture where she comes out as an activist or a snooping, and she was particularly vocal on the issue of Pegasus episode, and subsequently we have seen now this detail coming out, of course, through the complaint of Jayanand Adhyadra, and he has revealed his source, which happens to be Mahua Moitra, so it's self-incriminating. So Mahua Moitra actually sharing all those details with Jayanand Adhyadra, and it's so coming out that she was actually able to access call detail records, which you are not allowed to as a common citizen of the country, even as a member of parliament. Obviously, this was a Trinamool link or connection, which made her get the Kolkata police to do the snooping, and this is all illegal activity. You know, there was no criminal case against the individual who was being snooped down upon, and it was purely done for a private pursuit of a Trinamool leader, and I think that's something which is going to be serious and can have political implications as the story progresses. We've got the story just a while back. Obviously, it will take time, and it gets picked up politically, and then you would see the story is really snowballing. And one more issue to face so far as Mahua Moitra is concerned. You mentioned that she is not in the country, but obviously when she comes back, you can expect that even the CBI is going to maybe carry out preliminary inquiry, and during that maybe question her once as to what exactly was she doing with this illegally accessing the call detailed records of an individual against whom there was no criminal case pending with the Kolkata police.
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek, for putting this into perspective. It only means more trouble for the parliamentarian, who we are now picking up from sources is not in the country right now. Perhaps in a few days to come from now, the FIR is likely to be registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation. Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र. AMFI Mutual Funds. सही है. Co-powered by Sera. This is your space. Play it your way. Philips Smart Wi-Fi LED lights. Smarter generation की smart lights.
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
आपने सोमानी का नया रोल देखा? वही स्टाइल और रेंज सोमानी बाथवेयर में भी. सोमानी बाथवेयर.
जहां यादगार होता है हर एक किस्सा. इको रिट्रीट ओडिशा.
आंध्रा की वर्मा फैमिली को गरम भाजी पसंद है. आगरा की वर्मा फैमिली को धर्म भाजी पसंद है. फैमिलीज जितनी भी सेम लगे होती अलग है. इसलिए नया वीमैक्स पोस्टपेड जो दे हर फैमिली को उनकी पसंद की चॉइसेस, जैसे इजी डाइनर, डिज्नी प्लस हॉटस्टार एंड मोर. वीमैक्स पोस्टपेड. चूज व्हाट यू वांट टू यूज.
गाड़ी लेने से पहले टाटा एस गोल्ड पेट्रोल CX का दिल, यानी इसका इंजन देखा. ये इतना बढ़िया है कि 18 किलोमीटर प्रति लीटर तक का माइलेज तो हंसते हंसते दे जाएगा. अब तेल के दाम तो बराबर ही हैं, पर इस गाड़ी की कीमत है कम. इसलिए अब हर ट्रिप में खर्चा है कम और मुनाफा ज्यादा. तो अब सोचो समझो और टाटा एस गोल्ड पेट्रोल CX में.
योगी सरकार की निवेश फ्रेंडली नीतियां उत्तर प्रदेश की समृद्धि का आधार बन रही हैं. प्रदेश में बेहतरीन कानून व्यवस्था, निर्बाध बिजली, वर्ल्ड क्लास कनेक्टिविटी जैसी सुविधाओं के साथ ही लघु और मध्यम उद्योग को मिल रही सरकारी सब्सिडी के चलते युवाओं को नौकरियों और रोजगार के बड़े अवसर प्रदेश में प्राप्त हो रहे हैं.
2014 के बाद अगर देखा जाए तो जो गवर्नमेंट ने हमें सुविधाएं और जो हमें मिले हैं, गवर्नमेंट से सहयोग मिला हुआ है, उसके दौरान कोविड के दौरान भी हमारी कंपनी निरंतर जो है अच्छे परफॉर्म करती चली गई, जिसमें हमारे साथ सरकार का सहयोग, हर प्रकार का योगदान रहा. और मैं निरंतर अभी मान के चलिए कि आप 1000 लोगों से ज़्यादा हमारे द्वारा इस फैक्ट्री से जुड़े हुए हैं और जो ये निरंतर ग्रोथ की ओर बढ़ती चली जा रही हैं.
वर्तमान में निवेश के लिए सर्वोत्तम बन रहे प्रदेश में MSME क्षेत्र में 2 करोड़ से अधिक युवाओं को रोजगार से जोड़ा गया.
टिप चाहिए, पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ. डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा और मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा. अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ. सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम. रहो बेफिक्र.
Brace yourselves for a revolutionary leap into the world of news with the Republic World app. This is not just an app, viewers, it's a direct conduit to a world of news delivered with unparalleled authority and integrity right at your fingertips. Republic World app is your gateway to the latest updates, live streams and the debates that have become the hallmark of our journalistic prowess. Download Republic World app, available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store. Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र. AMFI Mutual Funds. सही है. Co-powered by Sera. This is your space. Play it your way. Philips Smart Wi-Fi LED lights. Smarter generation की smart lights.
मोदी सरकार की गारंटी, सस्ती दवाई, अच्छी दवाई, कम से कम 75% डिस्काउंट. अब तक जरूरतमंदों के 23,000 करोड़ रुपए बचे. हमारा संकल्प विकसित भारत.
भाई इतनी बड़ी टाइल्स,
इतनी बड़ी बड़ी हिट्स आप लोगों ने मुझे दी हैं। टाइल्स तो बड़े होने चाहिए। सुमानी मैक्स टाइल्स, टाइलों का सबसे बड़ा भाई। सुमानी मैक्स टाइल्स, जमीन से जुड़े।
Whenever I had ice cream or cold water, I would experience a sharp shooting sensation. So I just kept ignoring it. Even my hot chai was giving me the same amount of discomfort. My dentist recommended Sensodyne. So now I can be completely carefree and sip my hot cup of tea. It really works.
हमारे देश को आजाद हुए 76 साल हो गए, लेकिन कई चीजों में हमको अभी आजादी नहीं मिली। जैसे कि सरकारी दफ्तरों में दुश्वारियां, परेशानियां, बदइंतजामियां। हमारे शहीदों को इस बात की कतई चिंता नहीं थी कि देश को आजादी मिलेगी या ना, लेकिन उनको एक बात की चिंता थी कि आजादी के बाद देश कौन से हाथों में जाएगा, देश के हालात क्या होंगे। हमने आजादी की जंग इसलिए लड़ी थी ताकि हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ियों की जिंदगी आसान हो सके, ना कि इसलिए कि वो जगह जगह पर सरकारी दफ्तरों में धक्के खाएं, परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़े। अगर जंग सबने इकट्ठे होकर लड़ी थी आजादी की, तो फिर सुख सहूलतें भी सबको इकट्ठी मिलनी चाहिए। हम तो शहीदों के पांव की मिट्टी के एक धूल के तिनके के बराबर भी नहीं है, लेकिन ये बसंती रंग की पग शहीदों के सपनों और इरादों की हमें याद दिलाती रहती है कि हमारे देश में आम लोगों के सिर्फ दिन रात नहीं, हालात बदलने चाहिए। चुनाव के समय हम लोगों के पास जा सकते हैं, तो चुनाव के बाद सरकार बनती है, तो सरकार बनने के बाद भी सरकारों को जनता के पास जाना चाहिए, ना कि जनता सरकारी दफ्तरों में खज्जल खुआर हो। यही आजादी के असली मायने हैं। शहीद आजम सरदार भगत सिंह जी के सपनों को साकार करने के लिए पंजाब सरकार ने फैसला किया है कि पंजाब के लोगों को अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर नहीं लगाने पड़ेंगे, बल्कि सरकारी दफ्तर खुद चल के लोगों के घर पर आएंगे।
अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर काटने की जरूरत नहीं, बस डायल करें 1076 और सरकारी सुविधाएं अपने घर पर ही पाएं। पंजाब की भगवंत मान सरकार आपके द्वार।
दिल के सारे राज खोलता है जब ये डायमंड बोलता है।
दिल की ऐसी बातों को डायमंड से बुलवाओ। माला बाराओ।
और अब पाइए डायमंड वैल्यू पे अप टू 25% ऑफ ड्यूरिंग माइन डायमंड फेस्टिवल।
Union Minister Prahlad Joshi posted on X stating that the selection of the idol for the Pran Pratisthapana of Lord Ram in Ayodhya has been finalized. The idol of Lord Ram that will be installed in Ayodhya has been carved by a renowned sculptor of India, Yogi Raj Arun. In yet another incident of mob violence, Taluk in the Belagavi district of Karnataka witnessed an attack over an alleged love case. Over 20 individuals reportedly assaulted a house, damaged window cars, house window panes and 2 motorcycles. The conflict arose from a dispute between youth from 2 villages related to an alleged love case. The incident has been officially registered as a case at the Belagavi Rural Police Station.
Powered by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3 universities globally.
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
मोदी सरकार की गारंटी, हर गरीब का मुफ्त इलाज। 55 करोड़ लोगों को दी हर साल 5 लाख रुपए तक के मुफ्त इलाज की निश्चिंतता। हमारा संकल्प विकसित भारत।
आपने सोमानी का नया रोल देखा? वही स्टाइल और रेंज सोमानी बाथवेयर में भी। सोमानी बाथवेयर,
केंट से पानी होता है 100% प्योर।
केंट आरओ प्योरिटी दिखाता भी है।
केंट देता है सबसे शुद्ध पानी।
helps beat sensitivity fast. Sensodyne Rapid Relief.
हमारे देश को आजाद हुए 76 साल हो गए, लेकिन कई चीजों में हमको अभी आजादी नहीं मिली। जैसे कि सरकारी दफ्तरों में दुश्वारियां, परेशानियां, बदइंतजामियां। हमारे शहीदों को इस बात की कतई चिंता नहीं थी कि देश को आजादी मिलेगी या ना, लेकिन उनको एक बात की चिंता थी कि आजादी के बाद देश कौन से हाथों में जाएगा, देश के हालात क्या होंगे। हमने आजादी की जंग इसलिए लड़ी थी ताकि हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ियों की जिंदगी आसान हो सके, ना कि इसलिए कि वो जगह जगह पर सरकारी दफ्तरों में धक्के खाएं, परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़े। अगर जंग सबने इकट्ठे होकर लड़ी थी आजादी की, तो फिर सुख सहूलतें भी सबको इकट्ठी मिलनी चाहिए। हम तो शहीदों के पांव की मिट्टी के एक धूल के तिनके के बराबर भी नहीं है, लेकिन ये बसंती रंग की पग शहीदों के सपनों और इरादों की हमें याद दिलाती रहती है कि हमारे देश में आम लोगों के सिर्फ दिन रात नहीं, हालात बदलने चाहिए। चुनाव के समय हम लोगों के पास जा सकते हैं, तो चुनाव के बाद सरकार बनती है, तो सरकार बनने के बाद भी सरकारों को जनता के पास जाना चाहिए, ना कि जनता सरकारी दफ्तरों में खज्जल खुआर हो। यही आजादी के असली मायने हैं। शहीद आजम सरदार भगत सिंह जी के सपनों को साकार करने के लिए पंजाब सरकार ने फैसला किया है कि पंजाब के लोगों को अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर नहीं लगाने पड़ेंगे, बल्कि सरकारी दफ्तर खुद चल के लोगों के घर पर आएंगे।
अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर काटने की जरूरत नहीं, बस डायल करें 1076 और सरकारी सुविधाएं अपने घर पर ही पाएं। पंजाब की भगवंत मान सरकार आपके द्वार।
Congratulations for the book, Why Bharat Matters. If I may say so, it's a very readable and user-friendly book.
Okay.
As somebody who's done reporting on foreign policy, many incidents that you mention in the book, one is seen at close quarters. And you being a practitioner of foreign policy, as a diplomat, as a politician now, you've seen it at very close quarters. So who did you really have in mind while writing the book? Because when I read it, I felt it's anybody can get lessons from that, not just journalists, not just people in think tanks, but who did you have in mind?
Well, if you got a sense that anybody could use it, I think I then appear to have succeeded in what I was trying to do. Because, I mean, if you look at the last decade, there have been enormous changes. There have been enormous changes in the country, but especially in foreign policy, with which I have personally been involved. You know, so I've really, at the beginning of the book, tried to explain why I wrote the book, which is, unless a person who is themselves involved in the process of change starts narrating the story and explaining it, people do not necessarily understand it. Now, when I say people, I actually mean the general public.
Yeah.
Because one of my points I make is foreign policy is important for everybody today. It's not something which people in South Bloc or, you know, or even I would say the larger political class or the people involved in diplomacy have stakes in. You know, I've tried to bring out how the normal people, the average people, have stakes. But some of it is also because what has been happening in the world. I mean, if you look at even the last 5 years, I mean, we've had COVID, we've had, Afghanistan, the Taliban takeover, we've had problems on our border with China,
But in the book, you don't just mention it as, okay, we've had these problems. I like how it becomes relevant to me as a layperson when you talk about Vande Bharat, and how I as a layperson would be connected to foreign policy because of Vande Bharat, or evacuation of people, the Ganga, Operation Ganga. Then you talk about several things, the COVID diplomacy. So it makes it, relatable when it comes to.
No, absolutely. Because, what I've tried to do is to say, okay, look, here is a big picture. And here is what people would normally say, very complex diplomacy. Okay, there's a MEA and a foreign service and a minister who handle, and a government which handles all of this. I have tried to show, yes, we may be doing all that, but every one of these somewhere impacts your life. That if we take a stand, let us say, on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we have done so because we are shielding the Indian consumer from unreasonable increases in the petrol price at the pump. Or if there is a COVID challenge, we have mounted this massive mission, Vande Bharat, which actually brings back 7 million people.
Yeah, like as a mother who has a son or a daughter stuck in Ukraine, would have thought that foreign policy doesn't really matter to me till that happened.
No, and again, the point I make is, look, these are no longer going to be one-off situations.
Yeah.
That, there's Ukraine, there is, recently Operation Ajay in Israel, there's Operation Kaveri in Sudan. That because Indians are working abroad, because Indians are studying abroad, because you and I and hundreds, if not millions of families are also traveling abroad. People go as tourists. If you look at merchant shipping today, look at air crew, look at the people working in hotels, people who have jobs, blue-collar jobs abroad. So we are globalizing. We need to know what those big dangers are out there. And in a sense, that's why a lot of the, I would say, the examples and the metaphors I've used. The big dangers, sometimes all the players are not aware what it means to you, but at the end of the day, it means something to everybody personally.
Correct. And the other interesting thing that I liked in the book was the allegorical references and the metaphors that you drew from the Ramayana. Mostly when we read books about foreign policy or statecraft or national security, they derive their references and their metaphors from, say, the Mahabharata. But I found it interesting that you found lessons on statecraft, diplomacy, everything from the Ramayana, and that was very interesting because, things like what Vibhishan did or Valivad, that, when it comes to statecraft, you could draw from that epic was very interesting. Why Ramayana?
Well, there's both a logic and an incident. Okay. The incident actually was when I was preoccupied writing the book. I'd gone to give a talk about my previous book, okay, and somebody actually asked me. My recollection is it was in Pune, saying that, look, you've used Mahabharata, so have you ever thought about using Ramayana as a context, as something to draw from? And it was there somewhere at the back of my mind, but I think that incident compelled me to look at it. But there's another reason also. The other reason is, look, Ramayana, there's a difference in era, even in what are norms and standards. By the time you reach Mahabharata, it's absolute realpolitik. Whereas I think it's important today to remind people that reputation also has a value, that it is not something which is hot air, and it's not posturing, that standards mean something, rule of law means something, norms do count. So, but even those who have a higher purpose have to practice statecraft, and those who practice statecraft must always remember the higher purpose. So in a sense, I've tried to in Ramayana really also to bring out I would say the ethical, or our striving at the end of the day for a better world. Not that we win any which way and take what we get.
In the book, while reading the book, it's a bit confusing. Am I reading a book written by an academician? Am I reading a book written by a diplomat turned politician? Or am I reading a book written by a politician turned academic once again? It's like I can't figure out, like, you know, when you read a book, you want to know what the author is, who the author is, why is he looking at this prism? So what are you writing as?
I think a mixture of all of them. You know, the diplomat in me has in a sense, you can say, the domain knowledge and the experience which I talk about. The politician in me feels the need to communicate that to, as we said, to the everyday world, to the normal, you know, to the Samanya Nagrik, you can say. And in a sense, you know, look, if there are perhaps two sagas, two stories, all of us have grown up with. This is really the Ramayana and Mahabharata, you know. And we often use so much of the metaphors and the situations and the comparisons in our normal life. You know, if I were to talk to you chatting, I may bring up some reference there. So why I used that was also to remind people, look, we are a multiple sort of millennia old civilization. When we discuss the world, you know, can we think about doing it on our terms and in our, you know, in our framework, in our construct? So there was that part of it also, you know, that for me to think of the world, you know, I mean, as you can see, what I've tried to do is to take a particular theme and to try to give it a Ramayana type relevance. So say, for example, I've used the coalition building, you know, how Lord Ram very carefully constructs a coalition and what it takes to construct a coalition. You know, it doesn't happen by itself. Or even you know, in diplomacy. I mean, you've heard me say before that the two preeminent examples of diplomats are, you know, Hanuman and Shri Krishna. But there are others, you know, Angad, for example, or even his mother Tara. These are people who, in very difficult situations, practice their diplomatic skills. So
I like the Vibhishan part too.
You know, the Vibhishan part.
That was very interesting, and I wanted you to expound on that. I wanted more details because many times we think of Vibhishan as, okay, traitor from one aspect, but you said that there's more to it.
Well, you know, there are two angles from which I've approached Vibhishan. One, of course, that Vibhishan itself, in a sense, is a person torn between you know, a commitment to the right, you know, to dharma on one side, and the fact that he's from Lanka and really, you know, he's Ravan's brother. So that's the dilemma that he has. But I've also tried to put the other side. I mean, we always think of, when you say Vibhishan, what is he? But think of what must have been passing through Ram's mind when Vibhishan turns up.
So is it ethically or morally right what he did? And then you bring it to, I don't want to be a spoiler and explain how you bring that with today's India, but it is interesting how you draw the parallel out there.
You know, one is the ethical, moral, but there's also this. There's a question, you know, is Lord Rama, isn't he being smart?
Yeah.
That he's actually judged him well, partly because of Hanuman. Hanuman has given him the inputs. This allows him to make a judgment about Vibhishan, which actually is not shared by those around him. You know, they are very suspicious of him.
Yeah.
Whereas he realizes the value of what it means to have someone like this on his side.
And also for the general good of the people. You keep saying that it's not just being moralistic in isolation, that one sees the stories from Ramayana. Everything is associated with the good of the people in mind. And I like how you bring the parallels.
Well, in today's political parlance, I would say delivery on the ground. So, you know, if you are doing something and that doing something means effective delivery for the population, tell me what can be nobler than delivering good to people and changing their lives for the better.
I have to ask you about the title. It's Why Bharat Matters. Bharat and India interchangeable, and you come to the title of the book in the very last chapter.
Yes.
So usually, again, like I said, that many presumptions that one has while picking up a book written by a minister, you overturn many of that in this book. And one is that you tell us only in the last chapter why Bharat matters.
Well, again, I want people to read the other 10 chapters before getting there. But look, there's a very active debate right now. I think in many ways, obviously, people use that debate for their own narrow purposes. The fact is, to me, the term Bharat has a certain not just a cultural, civilizational connotation, but also one of a certain confidence and identity, and and on what terms how you perceive yourself, and because that is my business, what are the terms you're offering to the world. So I don't, this is not to me something which is a narrow political debate, or I would even say in that sense a historical cultural debate. It is a mindset, and the point I make is that if we are actually preparing seriously for the Amrit Kal, next 25 years, if we are talking of a Viksit Bharat, a developed Bharat, that can only happen if you are an Atmanirbhar Bharat.
In 2024, we complete 10 years of Prime Minister Modi being in office. You've been Ambassador, Foreign Secretary, EAM during this tenure. What have been where do you see the pivot happen in Indian foreign policy, and what were the challenges when you took over as Foreign Secretary, as EAM? What are the goals and that were given to you when you took?
Again, I have tried to bring that out in the book in an account of what I have put as a decade of transformation.
But you've not talked about it personally. That's what, it's not a memoir. That's
no, it's not a memoir.
Yeah,
it's not a memoir. I mean, you can't write a memoir when you are still holding a job, I've tried, I've tried to be very objective about it. In a way, I'm a participant, but I'm also a person trying to deliberately take myself out and look at it.
Several prisms going on there.
And I would say it was not so much that there was a turning point, I mean, unless, and you can call 2014 as a turning point. Once, Modi comes in 2014 and really weighs the foreign policy, which now he's taken charge of. That's essentially the chapter which I described, where you can see, he feels the need for a new construct, that one where the neighborhood, very generous, non-reciprocal policy towards a neighborhood, which brings the neighborhood in closer, to the fact that we have an extended zone.
The mandalas that you talk about.
Yes, the Southeast Asia, Indian Ocean, the Gulf, Central Asia. Now, we had made some progress definitely in Southeast Asia, but if you look, for example, at the Gulf, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, this is a region so near us, so many Indians living there, so much oil imported from there, yet politically very, very neglected. I mean, a country like UAE, for example, had not had a prime ministerial visit before Modi went there, from the time of Indira Gandhi. And then you will look at the Indian Ocean. Again, we were dealing with it like, this
piecemeal.
Island, that island. Yes, piecemeal. I mean, there wasn't a single integrated construct. And again, in the case of Central Asia, that intensity of connection was not there. Then the ability really to engage multiple, the major powers. Engage not in the sense of, oh, keep us out of your problems. Because that's a kind of like, I don't want to get caught in the big debates of the day. That's not what we are saying. We are saying, yes, we have stakes in the big debates of the day. I will take my call, but there's no exclusivity in any of my relationships. I reserve the right to deal with each one of you as per my national interest. And also preparing for a larger footprint, global footprint. Then the entire approach to the diaspora has undergone a change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From 2014 onwards, they were suddenly in center focus, and they remain so, because initially it seemed as if there were many articles which came op-ed articles which said that this is just the start, in grip of the foreign policy, he's going to ignore the diaspora and get on with the leaders, but that's not happened.
Well, I think, as has been the case for the last 10 years, a lot of people who've been writing about it really have no idea what is happening.
What to expect, at least nobody knows.
Yes. So maybe by writing this book, I may be doing everybody a service, at least.
By demystifying
saying, okay, here is a logic, here is a narrative. Why don't, I'm sure those who are open-minded enough to want to learn would probably find some benefit. But the other part is also, if you look at the big global issues of the day, that say, for example, climate change. We were perceived as one of the countries holding back. Today, actually, whether it is the International Solar Alliance, the Disaster Resilient Coalition, in fact, having been with Prime Minister Modi in Paris, in Glasgow, recently in Dubai, we've actually sort of taken the lead when it comes to the COP meetings. And
so I will read out a couple of quotes from the book. In one of them, you say diplomacy is about chemistry and credibility, and you keep referring to that in the book several times, about how this chemistry, especially with the Prime Minister and world leaders, how it's impactful on delivering on foreign policy. Could you tell me a little bit about how these 10 years have mattered as far as this chemistry and credibility is concerned?
I mean, look, it's not that difficult to appreciate. I mean, let's for a moment not think of the leaders, okay? If two people have not met each other, have not spoken to each other, have not spent time with each other, how could they possibly relate to each other? I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? And yet, when you have, when we say, okay, India is growing. I mean, surely if India is growing, our interests are growing, that means we need to be much more active and much more engaging, and there must be that kind of connect, because at the end of the day, leaders do, a large part of policy making derives from the judgment that a system, especially the system's leader, makes. Now, if I have not even spoken to you, how am I going to influence your judgment? So, if you see the last decade, to me, one great, I would say, advantage, a tailwind I've had as Foreign Secretary and now as EM, is the fact that in many countries, when you go there, the fact that the President or the Prime Minister, they know Prime Minister Modi, they admire him, they've spoken to him, they've discussed something, they've done something. This counts an enormous amount.
And the hugs and the Twitter engagement, the X engagement now, or social media. The Prime Minister embraced social media right away, and then every meeting that he's had with heads of state and government, he tweets about it. Then those people, the heads of government, they tweet about it. So this is, social media has played a very large role in this chemistry and credibility business.
Yes, it has. I think also to some extent they look, there was that example which was captured by the cameras, where President Biden is telling Prime Minister Modi, saying, whatever, you have a 70-something% approval rate, so how do you do it? I think other politicians, like in any competitive profession, they look to see, okay, how is the peer faring? Okay, for them, the fact that a Prime Minister is doing well in the country. Doing well could be an election result, doing well could be 7.7 growth rate, doing well could be handling COVID, doing well could be deploying 5G. So they make these judgments. But at the
if President Biden wanted this kind of rating, he could have come for the Republic Day parade. He could have got a Namaste Biden, like Namaste Trump.
No, I think that was a different issue because we got, it was tied to the Quad also. And we couldn't get a landing zone there.
Explain what is landing zone to layman.
No, meaning we couldn't get everything agreed with everybody. So therefore it didn't work.
Okay, another quote which I found interesting was, a nationalist outlook will naturally produce a nationalist democracy. Now, is it something that, and you also say that it's something that the world will get used to. Now, this is something that many people have written about, those who have seen Indian foreign policy evolve, that there is a kind of a muscular foreign policy now. It's a nationalist foreign policy.
I would say confident, not muscular.
Okay, confident, your choice of word. Some say, like you would say confident, some would say it's bombastic at times even, because of this, the domestic policy is so nationalistic, it's reflecting on the international interactions that the Prime Minister, that the Foreign Minister and everybody else has. Have we made more friends? Have we become a Vishwamitra, or are we imposing our view on the various mandalas that you talked about, which is our neighborhood and then the East Asia area?
No, I don't think we are imposing our view, because at the end of the day in foreign relations, beyond a point, you can't impose your view unless, you are such a big power with such a huge margin of strength that you can, and that is not the case. I would certainly say today that if you look at the 200 odd countries, okay, if you say where is India today in their consciousness, in their awareness, I would say in the last 10 years we are very much deeper and stronger in that regard. If you say how many of them feel something has happened in India which is relevant to them, I would again say the answer is yes, those numbers have grown. We are seen as more relevant, we are more visible, we are seen as influencing many more outcomes. So, if you look at it today, many more leaders want to come to India. One of my big challenges as a foreign minister is really to explain why Prime Minister cannot visit every country in the world every year, because everybody apparently wants him to come.
I'm going to go into the trouble areas.
So
when we talk about
no, this is not a trouble area. This is when you have high demand. It's in a way a welcome problem.
You have many wanting to come here.
Many wanting to come. Many of them who want him to go out. So I would certainly say today, look, when we say Vishwamitra, just look. I give you the example.
Vishwamitra feels nice. Vishwaguru seems threatening to many.
I've used the word Vishwamitra, and to me, if you want one example of that, is the G20. That at the G20, look, go back and look at it. 24 hours, not even 12 hours before the G20 declaration was finalized, there were people publicly predicting that we will fail. Okay, now I know some part of it was politically driven, put that aside. But the general expectation was, relations today are so polarized on the Ukraine issue. If the concerns of the global south have become so strong and yet being contested in a way or not being recognized duly by others. So there was a north-south divide, there was a east-west polarization, different countries were pulling in different directions, and yet the fact was eventually we got everybody to come to the table. And I accept, when they all came to the table, they deserve credit. But finally, the truth is, they came to the table because everybody ultimately had a relationship with India. The other 19 countries said, yes, this matters for India, this is something which is right, so because the fact is everybody made a compromise. That's how it happened.
Yeah. But that happened, and then suddenly we saw ties with Canada plummet. It happened literally within weeks.
But that...
What went wrong there?
That is, I think, I mean, I
It happened
honestly do
even
not
during
see.
the summit.
Look, I do not see a correlation there. No, I mean, getting everybody around on a G20 has nothing to do with the Khalistani issue in Canada. I mean, the Khalistani issue is not a new issue. The Khalistani issue has existed for decades.
Why do you think that it has become such a thorn in the flesh for India-Canada relations? And why do you think Prime Minister Trudeau, for a handful of Khalistanis, has put relationship with India on the rocks?
Look, I can explain my government, my Prime Minister and my book.
But you're also an academic, you're also a diplomat.
I do not, it's not for me to speculate on other Prime Ministers, but I will tell you the issue at heart. The issue at heart is the fact that in Canadian politics, these Khalistani forces have been given a lot of space and have been allowed to indulge in activities which I think are damaging to the relationship, clearly not in India's interest, but I would argue not in Canada's interest either. But unfortunately, that is the state of their politics.
How do you see the allegations that Canada makes on India with regard to deaths which have taken place, unexplained deaths which they call, and the investigations they are doing, and compare it with what the Americans and how they are reacting?
Smita, I've spoken about this before. It is not obviously a subject relating to my book, and we are not here to do a press conference.
Right.
I mean, I've been quite clear on this, that if somebody gives us something to investigate, we'll look at it.
Right. I will move on to, in your book you talk...
yes, let's stay with the book.
In the book, you talk about legacy building also, and about how everything that has happened in the Modi era has worked towards a goal. In 2024, will India and China bury the hatchet? Because there is in one part you talk about relationship with France and how it has gone forward. You talk about relationship with Japan. These two stand out clearly in the Modi era, having taken an upward trajectory. The two which don't take an upward trajectory, one is China and the other one is of course Pakistan. Pakistan barely makes any mention in your book, but China. So will steps be taken in 2024 to bury the hatchet?
See, I cannot answer that because obviously, as they say, it takes two hands to clap. But I pose the issue, and I pose the issue in this manner, that if you look at the last 75 plus years of our foreign policy, we've had a strain of realism about China, and we have had a strain of, I can say, you can call it idealism, romanticism, non-realism, you can say. And it begins right from day one. I mean, where there is a very sharp difference of opinion how to respond to China between Nehru and Sardar Patel. I'm giving a certain attitude here. So I would say the Modi government has been very much more in conformity with the strain of realism which originated from Sardar Patel. And
you mentioned the romanticism of the Nehruvian era.
Yes.
Now, and then you talk about the realism.
And I've given some examples. I mean, where even when it came, for example, to the UN Security Council seat. Now, again, it's not my case that we should have necessarily taken the seat. That's a different debate. But to say that we should first let China, China's interests should come first. That's a very it's a very peculiar statement to make.
And you also write that there was no reciprocity in the years after that from China.
Yeah, no. So there is a judgment here. There is first a judgment about what we should do, then there's a judgment about what we should expect. So I think today, what will happen with China? I mean, I argue for dealing with China from a basis of realism, that strain of realism which I feel extends all the way from Sardar Patel to Narendra Modi. That is the strain of realism which I feel should allow us to have a certain approach. The alternative strain, which starts from Nehru's, in a sense, China first policy, because he says, first let China take its seat, then we will see for India.
China first.
So from China first policy, it ends up as Chindia policy.
I know.
Today.
People had forgotten that horrible term, Chindia.
Well, I think you should ask the inventor of the term.
Yeah, it's very cringeworthy to read it today.
But there you are.
Yeah. You've been ambassador in China. You've met with several of your predecessors who were foreign ministers. You as a foreign minister, as an external affairs minister, how do you see the pivot that India has taken with regard to China?
No, I don't think, look, I don't believe it's a pivot we have taken. You know, we have tried to construct a relationship which is based, as I say, on three mutuals. And the fact is that unless there is a mutuality of, that mutuality is recognized, this relationship will find it very difficult to progress. And today, part of our problem is exactly because in 2020 agreements were disregarded, and the mutuality on which this whole relationship is predicated has not been followed, that we have the situation we have. So when you ask me where would it go, I would say a lot of it would depend on what is the Chinese policy.
In the book you mention a number of places or times in our history where mind games have to be played by diplomats, by politicians when dealing with other countries. With China, did we always lose out on this mind games thing?
No, I don't think we always lost out, but I would argue that at various points of time, we could have, say, there was, when we talk about the parts of the past which today would be very difficult for someone to understand, the Panchsheel Agreement is another such example. So I would say that today, that's why I come back to Bharat, that the role of confidence, the role of assurance, the fact, we are a multiple millennia civilization. All this should be in our demeanor, in our standing, and in the way in which we approach other countries.
You confuse people because of this demeanor. Let me be honest with you. You were in Russia and you posted that picture, and then you were sitting with President Putin, and in the Western press there was an absolute meltdown that now Dr. Jaishankar is there, and then there's this bonhomie between President Putin and Prime Minister Modi, untrustworthy friend and ally. The Western media just doesn't know how to read you.
No, look, if people can't read me, that means my mind games are working. Okay, but the answer is, honestly, I see no reason that people should take any, what was happening other than at face value, because we have always maintained that the Russia relationship is a very important one, very steady one. I've written about it in my book, and I said it in Moscow. I said it publicly in Moscow even before my meeting with President Putin happened, which is that we value this relationship. It's a relationship that has served India where, look, I'm looking at it now from an Indian perspective. And that's also part of being Bharat. No? Part of being Bharat is you must look from perspective of your interest, not allow other people to decide your judgment and your responses.
When you write about the Quad and then the disappointment when the Quad had to take a back seat, and then it comes up again. It comes into focus when Prime Minister Modi comes in. Again, it comes into focus. So obviously when it's Quad, and then there is Russia, who are the new friends? Who are the old friends? Is everybody a friend? This Vishwamitra bit, I know you're going to come back to that. Is everybody a friend? How do you choose your friends and allies?
Again, look, a country which has maximum friends and minimum adversaries is obviously one with a smart diplomacy. So why would a country restrict its friends? Why would it say, I will choose you and not choose you? Unless your interest compelled you to do that. I am today focusing on how do I expand my relationships, how am I more present, how am I more influential. So for me, the more friends I have, the more forums I'm member of, the more places where I can influence, sway outcomes is good for me. Now it's the others who push you, this is the mind games that others play, that, they would say, if you are a democracy, you must do this, this, this. So if you should ask them, well, if that is so, please look at the mirror and tell me how you were behaving as a democracy. So everybody, after all, look, it's not like every country has its values and beliefs, but every country has its interests as well. And every country finds a balance. So when others come and tell you that you have no interest, that you must go by what has been decided elsewhere, that's when you lack that self-confidence to say, excuse me, I think I'm going to do something else because I've looked at it very carefully and my interests have taken me in a certain direction or asked me to take a certain position.
But that's exactly what has been happening post G20 in the foreign media. Almost on a weekly basis, one is seeing articles that this assertive India on the world stage is happening at one level, and at the other level, it is at the cost of diplomacy, democracy sliding, or democracy indicators sliding in India.
Yeah, but I've not I've made some references to that democracy narrative. That is also a mind game. That is when
I think
people,
I'm regretting using that word now.
No, but seriously, just look at it this way. There are people who apparently feel more confident of their support outside India than inside India. They get support from outside India. So we have this constant barrage. We've had this from 2014. It increased after 2019. I'm sure it will become very shrill as we lead up to the summer of 2024, who will constantly come at you and say, you are less of a democracy, they'll pick what they believe are flaws or failings that we have. Again, we must have the confidence to judge it. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying we don't have room for improvement. Everybody does. We certainly do. But I would say, please look at their motive and their agenda. They are not agenda-less. They are not motive-less. They are trying to push a certain line because they have a certain interest. So don't necessarily take what comes in the foreign media at face value. Because when you look at the kind of, shall I say, multiple standards that they practice, you are talking of the state of democracy in this country. Give me any yardstick of democracy. Are your elections fair? Is your participation growing? Are broader and broader sections involved? Are your institutions working? I would say I'm doing as well as any other democracy. Frankly, if anything, I could be passing judgments on a whole lot of other democracies.
But India doesn't.
We are very dignified people, and
that's what I want to know. Why is it that India doesn't have its own, or the Indian government, I'm not talking about just the Modi government, and even the earlier governments, there have been no statements regarding slide of democracy of other countries.
You have a point. You have a point. I think part of it is because we also have a tradition where we do not make very intrusive, judgmental statements about other people's politics. That's been part of our tradition. Maybe with the passage of time, that too may change. Many things in the country are changing.
We were talking about Vishwamitra and the friends, and in the book you mentioned that no country is irrelevant to India. What happened with Pakistan? You did make Pakistan irrelevant to India.
No. I think I would not agree with that.
You haven't been there?
I haven't, sorry?
You haven't been to Pakistan, you made it irrelevant.
As foreign minister?
As foreign minister.
Well, I think that's partly because of how they reacted, after 2019. I think the way you're phrasing it is perhaps a bit too strong and doesn't quite capture what is the situation. What Pakistan was trying to do, not now, but over multiple decades, was really to use cross-border terrorism to bring India to the table. Okay, that in essence was its core policy. We have made that irrelevant by not playing that game. It's not a case that we, that we don't, will not deal with a neighbor. After all, at the end of the day, a neighbor is a neighbor. But it is that we will not deal, on the basis of terms that they set where the practice of terrorism is deemed as legitimate and effective in order to bring you to the table.
Talking about relevance and irrelevance, you do mention our neighbors. You talk about Sri Lanka in the book. And is there a new challenge now that we have in Maldives with the new regime taking a pivot against India towards China?
The new regime has just come in. We had a brief meeting between our leaders, Prime Minister and their President. We have to see where we go on from here, because my takeaway from that meeting was that there was a recognition on both sides of the importance of the relationship. So we have to wait to see how that recognition plays out.
Right. Coming back to your book, you talk in one of them about the three doctrines, the roads not taken. That I found very interesting. I'm sure that will be just for another book at one point of time. Patel, Masani, and
in fact, Ambedkar. Patel on China, Dr. Shama Prasad Mukherjee on Pakistan, Dr. Ambedkar on China and America. Because not many people know how strongly, how much he was disturbed by the manner in which our relationship with the US did not fare well in that period. And finally, Minu Masani, because Minu Masani I referred to in terms of, where sometimes the practice of non-alignment could end up doing, which is, you could lose your bearings. I mean, that's essentially what he's saying. Now, it's not, I have again tried to be very objective. It's not my case that somebody is wrong and somebody is right. My purpose of writing that chapter was to remind people that, look, what you take as a given, that this was the only course which India could have followed, may not be true. That at that time, many years ago, there were very intense debate. After all, these are your three key relationships, China, Pakistan, America. On these three key relationships, there were very major debates and choices were made. And today, after 7.5 decades, it's important we look at those choices, if only to ask ourselves and see whether there is wisdom to be gained from that. And certainly today, when you look at those three choices, those three accounts, I would suggest to you that a lot of what they had to say maybe had more merit than people thought at that time.
So the students of international relations, you give like a teaser in this about the conversations and about Shama Prasad. And in that, like in one of them, which you said, as Mukherjee was to state in Parliament, India went to the Security Council on the question of aggression, not on the question of
sovereignty,
of accession. So this was a very interesting point. If students of foreign policy want to read about this, those who are studying it, where should one go to read about these conversations and about this? Nehru Memorial Library?
No.
I mean, now Prime Minister's Sangrahalaya.
Now you get so much, on the net. I mean, in fact, even in YouTube, a lot of this historical material is played out. I would say it is important for people to revisit. And again, look, I'm genuinely not being partisan about it. I'm not. There would be decisions taken in the 50s and 60s, which would have been very sound. And today we were confronted with the same situation. We may take that.
Were we too trusting in that era? Are we more hard-nosed now?
I think I don't know if it is trusting. I've kind of addressed that issue. I think there was an ideological bent of mind, which in fact trusted some and distrusted others. So it wasn't just that you trusted everybody. There were also antipathies vis-a-vis certain powers.
Yeah, correct.
And the US was one of them.
Yes. This is the pivot that I was talking about, the number of pivots that India has taken. Another quote that which I picked up was, economic crisis ended up being a strategic correction. What, if you could expand on that, and how many times did that happen in the past 10 years when Modi has been Prime Minister?
You see, my recollection is I refer here to how we reached out to the ASEAN, and then how that became a policy beyond that, you know. And today, in a way, all of that has led to the Indo-Pacific. So if you remember at that time, we had a balance of payments crisis, 91, 92. From that, the decision was made to liberalize the economy, undertake reforms, and look for different, more partners, different partners. And that quest, in many ways, took us to ASEAN, and the relationship in that 1990s grew very, very strongly. And what it did was, it really became then the base to go beyond the ASEAN, to Japan, to Korea, economically to China, to recently much more, particularly after Modi has come to Australia. So my point was, the trigger was an economic crisis, but if you see the consequences, it ended up as something much bigger. Now, in the big changes during the Modi period, the last 10 years, I would not say that they were necessarily economic crisis which triggered. For example, he has completely transformed our relationship with the Gulf. If you look today at the quality of our relationship, the visits we have, the different facets of the relationship. Now, there was no crisis which was driving it. It was driven because he had a policy, he had a certain understanding of why this region was important, and he took the initiative.
And the strategic correction with Israel also?
No, Israel.
If you were to expand that, West Asia thing?
I think Israel was a much longer debate in our country. I have referred to it very,
barely in the book. Yeah,
because mine is a general description. It's not an in-depth. But Israel was also connected very much with our domestic politics. That there were very conscious judgments which were made, when that for political reasons in India, we will not really establish a full ambassadorial relationship with Israel, and will keep a distance. And the fact is, after all, ask yourself, from 1948, it was only 2017 that the first Prime Minister's visit from India took place to Israel. I mean, surely there's a reason. And that reason is a political reason.
Many times it's said that domestic policy has influenced the Modi government's foreign policy. But by reading this book...
It has influenced every government's foreign policy.
Exactly.
It was not less in the earlier era, including in the Nehru era.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to come to, that can you give us one or two instances where you feel, one you've just told us about, and because you've worked with the Indira Gandhi government, the Rajiv Gandhi government, and subsequently Dr. Manmohan Singh and the others, did you find that this domestic policy influencing foreign policy is something which is a continuous train, or was it enhanced more during the Modi era?
I would say it's a mix. There are certain interests and certain, I would say, preferences which you can say come more from a broad national thinking, which are less, less susceptible to change. Governments come and governments go, but they don't change that much. But there will be some where they reflect very much the viewpoint of the political regime in power.
And not necessarily the political party, but...
it could be the political party, it could be the regime, it could be an individual, it could be a group.
Okay.
I give you examples. To me, the improvement in relations with Israel very clearly reflects the fact that the BJP is in power. I don't think that the changes we have seen in the last 10 years, would have happened if some other party was in power other than the BJP. That's one example. At the same time, I would say the attitude we took towards China in the 1950s, the manner in which we supported them on a range of issues, and I've referred to that in Roads Not Taken, and also in the China chapter. It would not have happened had the Congress party not been in power and had Prime Minister Nehru not been the foreign minister and the Prime Minister. I think it was very much his personal proclivity. The same, in a sense, I would say about taking Kashmir to the UN, that it was something very much which was Prime Minister Nehru's personal push, which took that issue to the UN. So again, Pakistan policy in the Roads Not Taken, one of the reasons I've used Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee as a counterfoil is that at that time there was someone like him who was cautioning the government, saying, look, you are entering this Nehru-Liaquat pact where they have no intention of honoring what was happening. It was not something we realized decades later. As you are signing the pact, a minister of the cabinet is telling you, saying, look, don't do this.
And Ambedkar on the Nation First, which you talk about in the book also.
So I would say, I think there is a lot, as I said, there's a lot that is national, but there is a lot that is political.
In the book, you talk, and I'm quoting again, the surge in India's self-confidence, and you talk about aspirational India, refer to this several times. What has been your feedback in the past 10 years of the Modi government? What do people, when you interact, you go to college campuses, you meet with people, you meet with students, I've seen you interacting with the youth. What do they expect of you as a foreign minister?
I think that's a good note to conclude our talk. I would say that, I find today young people really very interested in the world. Okay. Having, developed that interest, they want to talk to people who can explain it to them in not very complicated, not in jargon, not with too many complications. They have, I think, an understandable pride about their country and our and what we are as a people, and they clearly like that to be projected at the world stage. They, I think, respond favorably if they feel that people are trying to push us around and you will not be pushed around. I think they take that well. I don't think it's not their expectation that we will be hyper, but they like the fact if you stand your ground. So to me, actually, in many ways, these interactions, of which I've done a lot in the last 5 years, they have been for me a very interesting sort of motivator, because it's like, you're getting, it's like a focus group. You're getting audience response even when you are penning your thoughts. And they in many ways are the people for whom I'm writing this book. That I'm trying to capture those multiple conversations I've had with different people, a lot of it very spontaneous, very natural. People come up to you on a plane, in an airport, in a public place.
What do they say to you? Sir, aap ye kijiye, sir, aap wo kijiye. Do they do that?
Not quite, but they I mean, depending on the setting, they kind of express support, or they no, and there is some of what you say, which is, wish humko ye karna chahiye, that there is some of that.
Yeah. So while reading the book, I was trying to get hints, and I'm sure many will ask you this. Are you really going to take the plunge in 2024 and contest the Lok Sabha elections?
That's a pass. I've answered all your other questions. So
thank you so much, sir, for explaining, and success to this book from us. Thank you. Thank you.
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
पीएम किसान सम्मान निधि के माध्यम से किसानों की छोटी छोटी जरूरतों को पूरा कर रहे हैं। इन खर्चों के लिए अब उन्हें किसी दूसरे के सामने हाथ नहीं फैलाना पड़ता।
यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री के विजन से प्रधानमंत्री किसान सम्मान निधि योजना लाई है उत्तर प्रदेश के करोड़ों अन्नदाताओं के चेहरे पर मुस्कान। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ के नेतृत्व में 2,63,00,000 किसानों को मिला है स्वाभिमान से जीने का अधिकार। किसानों के बैंक खातों में भेजे गए हैं 64,694 करोड़ रुपए। इस योजना के तहत सभी किसानों को प्रतिवर्ष उपलब्ध कराई जाती है 6,000 रुपए की आर्थिक सहायता। अब किसान भाइयों को कृषि कार्यों के लिए किस्मत के भरोसे नहीं रहना होगा। अन्नदाताओं का सम्मान, नए उत्तर प्रदेश की पहचान।
कैंट से पानी होता है 100% प्योर।
कैंट आरओ प्योरिटी दिखाता भी है।
कैंट देता है सबसे शुद्ध पानी।
सब जांचा है, परखा है, समझा है, इसलिए मेरे समझदारी का नाम इंट्रा है।
टाटा की नई इंट्रा V20 पिकअप है इंडिया की पहली बाय फ्यूल पिकअप जो दे आपको बढ़िया ड्राइवेबिलिटी, सुपीरियर ड्राइविंग कंफर्ट, ज्यादा लोडेबिलिटी, सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज, जो दे सबसे ज्यादा रेंज। टाटा इंट्रा V20 पिकअप, सब कुछ उठाए, हर दिन जिताए।
मोदी सरकार की गारंटी, किसानों को हर साल रुपए 6,000। 11 करोड़ 80 लाख किसानों को अब तक 2,60,000 करोड़ रुपए की सहायता। हमारा संकल्प विकसित भारत।
इस पल को मुमकिन करने के लिए रिया ने पहले से ही शुरुआत कर दी थी।
ये पल सच हुआ, ये पल अपनों के ख्वाबों से सजा है। ये पल मानो रुक
और म्यूचुअल फंड से शुरुआत करना जिम्मेदारी की निशानी है।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
आपने सोमानी का नया रोल देखा? वही स्टाइल और रेंज सोमानी बाथवेयर में भी। सोमानी बाथवेयर।
हमारे देश को आजाद हुए 76 साल हो गए, लेकिन कई चीजों में हमको अभी आजादी नहीं मिली। जैसे कि सरकारी दफ्तरों में दुश्वारियां, परेशानियां, बदइंतजामियां। हमारे शहीदों को इस बात की कतई चिंता नहीं थी कि देश को आजादी मिलेगी या ना, लेकिन उनको एक बात की चिंता थी कि आजादी के बाद देश कौन से हाथों में जाएगा, देश के हालात क्या होंगे। हमने आजादी की जंग इसलिए लड़ी थी ताकि हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ियों की जिंदगी आसान हो सके, ना कि इसलिए कि वो जगह जगह पर सरकारी दफ्तरों में धक्के खाएं, परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़े। अगर जंग सबने इकट्ठे होकर लड़ी थी आजादी की, तो फिर सुख सहूलतें भी सबको इकट्ठी मिलनी चाहिए। हम तो शहीदों के पांव की मिट्टी के एक धूल के तिनके के बराबर भी नहीं है, लेकिन ये बसंती रंग की पग शहीदों के सपनों और इरादों की हमें याद दिलाती रहती है कि हमारे देश में आम लोगों के सिर्फ दिन रात नहीं, हालात बदलने चाहिए। चुनाव के समय हम लोगों के पास जा सकते हैं, तो चुनाव के बाद सरकार बनती है, तो सरकार बनने के बाद भी सरकारों को जनता के पास जाना चाहिए, ना कि जनता सरकारी दफ्तरों में खज्जल खुआर हो। यही आजादी के असली मायने हैं। शहीद आजम सरदार भगत सिंह जी के सपनों को साकार करने के लिए पंजाब सरकार ने फैसला किया है कि पंजाब के लोगों को अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर नहीं लगाने पड़ेंगे, बल्कि सरकारी दफ्तर खुद चल के लोगों के घर पर आएंगे।
अब सरकारी दफ्तरों के चक्कर काटने की जरूरत नहीं, बस डायल करें 1076 और सरकारी सुविधाएं अपने घर पर ही पाएं। पंजाब की भगवंत मान सरकार आपके द्वार।
हाय,
Hi.
What's that?
That's a Manish Malhotra.
Not your dress.
The cupboard. The laminate is a Manish Malhotra design.
Century Laminates by Manish Malhotra. Fashion for your furniture.
Live it up, live it up.
Powered by Reva University, a social impact multidisciplinary university. Century Ply Club Prime, Raho Befikar. ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel, India बनाऊंगा मैं, बनेगा भारत.
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
जहाँ यादगार होता है हर एक किस्सा। इको रिट्रीट ओडिशा।
दिल के सारे राज खोलता है जब ये डायमंड बोलता है।
दिल की ऐसी बातों को डायमंड से बुलवाओ, माला बाराओ।
और अब पाइए डायमंड वैल्यू पे अप टू 25% ऑफ ड्यूरिंग माइन डायमंड फेस्टिवल। Whenever I had ice cream or cold water, I would experience a sharp shooting sensation, so I just kept ignoring it. Even my hot chai was giving me the same amount of discomfort. My dentist recommended Sensodyne, so now I can be completely carefree and sip my hot cup of tea. It really works.
मोदी सरकार की गारंटी, महिलाओं के लिए धुआं मुक्त रसोई। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना के तहत 10 करोड़ गैस कनेक्शन। हमारा संकल्प विकसित भारत।
भाई इतनी बड़ी टाइल,
इतनी बड़ी बड़ी हिट्स आप लोगों ने मुझे दी हैं। टाइल्स तो बड़े होने चाहिए। सुमानी मैक्स टाइल्स, टाइलों का सबसे बड़ा भाई। सुमानी मैक्स टाइल्स जमीन से जुड़े।
टिप चाहिए, पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा और मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
Brace yourselves for a revolutionary leap into the world of news with the Republic World app. This is not just an app, viewers, it's a direct conduit to a world of news delivered with unparalleled authority and integrity right at your fingertips. Republic World app is your gateway to the latest updates, live streams and the debates that have become the hallmark of our journalistic prowess. Download Republic World app, available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
The debate with Arnab Goswami,
presented by Amity University, powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Century Laminates and PolicyBazaar.com.
Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome. I'd like to start by informing you that a section of the secularity in our country, the secularity, the pseudos, earlier called pseudo-secular, whatever, you know. This secularity has gone mad. It's gone on a mad and unhinged and crazy rant against the Ram Mandir and the Pran Pratishtha, against the inauguration of the Bhavya Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. And one of these unhinged secularity, an ex-journalist, now proud troll, says that the Ram Mandir is bakwas. That's the word they use. That's the language they use. And I ask tonight, and I ask most seriously, that when Nupur Sharma made her comments on a TV program, this same person went all out against Nupur. How dare Nupur Sharma talk like this? Well, how dare she talk like this? When Islamists threatened to kill Nupur, this troll did not speak up for Nupur's right to life. Now when this person calls the Ram Mandir bakwas, where is the lobby that targeted Nupur Sharma with such unbridled enthusiasm and relentless energy? Where are they? How are Hindu sentiments, and only Hindu sentiments, to be brushed aside? And only Muslim sentiments matter? And by saying so, do I become communal? No, ladies and gentlemen, we must speak from the heart, speak straight and direct, for there can be no more beating around the bush anymore. People in this country must ask why one section of the secularity identifies so strongly with the ex-Muslim rulers of India, with the Mughals, with every Muslim dynasty, but not with the duly elected government of the country today. What kind of despicable hypocrisy is this? The fact is that rising Hindu pride is intolerable for these hypocrites. Some because they are radicalized, some because they support Islamists, and some because, and simply because, they are wannabe whites. Culturally complex people, the kind like Rahul Baba, who go around screaming in foreign capitals. And that's what Rahul Baba does. He goes screaming in foreign countries saying, India is not even a nation. And that's why for these people, these intellectual invertebrates, for them, Hinduism, whose essence unites the country, whose core is at the core of the civilization of our great nation, rising Hinduism for them is a big threat. Rising nationalism for them is a big threat. And the rising of the Bhavya Ram Mandir is the biggest threat of all, ladies and gentlemen. Complete breakdown, unhinged madness of the secularity as we celebrate the Ram Mandir, debate number 1 tonight. Debate number 2 this evening, the BJP started the 2024 campaign. After Modi ki guarantee, it is Tisri Baar Modi Sarkar. That's debate 2 at 10, and here are the headlines this Tuesday evening on the debate tonight. "20 days to go for the mega Ram Mandir inauguration. Why are the secularati paranoid?
Inauguration of the temple, that day, our feeling is we should not go. Why? A temple should be inaugurated, either the Tandri of that temple or trustee members of that temple. There is not a duty of the Prime Minister to inaugurate a temple.
Congress party stoops to a new law, says the Prime Minister of India must not attend the inauguration of the Bhavya Ram Mandir. BJP slams appeasement politics as Siddaramaiah reopens a 31-year-old case against Karsewaks. BJP sets Tisri Bar Modi Sarkar target for 2024. Chairs key strategy meeting to chalk out the roadmap.
Indian politics, these Khalistani forces have been given a lot of space. I think are damaging to the relationship. Clearly not in India's interest, but I would argue not in Canada's interest either.
And Jaishankar shows Canada the mirror, says Khalistani elements given a free run under the Trudeau government. And big global story of the day, fire at Tokyo's Haneda airport after 2 aircraft collide. 5 crew members of a plane dead, over 370 rescued. And ladies and gentlemen, 20 days from now, the Ram Temple will be opened. The whole nation from Arunachal to Gujarat, Kashmir to Kanyakumari is awaiting the Pran Pratishtha, the opening of the temple. But the opposition is not yet fully part of this huge celebration. If the coming of Ram is Diwali, then the whole nation is lighting lamps with joy. But the secularati is choosing to sit in darkness. Ladies and gentlemen, as I began by saying, the secularati is having a meltdown. Ladies and gentlemen, why a meltdown over such a great event? Let's debate.
Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram.
मेरे साथ पूरे भक्ति भाव से बोलिए।